Welcome guys to another weekend of Clash Royale as we bring you Clash Royale League Asia. Just for another week, we had the regional clashes last week with Korea and Japan. Now we're bringing it to you SEA versus Japan this time around. My name is Joseph. Joining with me is G-Clef as always, and we now have our second week of regional clashes, and we got to see Japan absolutely dominant over the Korean region as a whole, but we're kind of bringing in the Southeast Asia region to see how they fare against the Japanese region.
They've been having a week of break because last week we only had Korean teams and Japanese teams. Now they have to face against the Japanese team. They have been waiting. They have all those information ahead, what they like to do, what they not like to do. So it's going to be very interesting. Also, to Japanese teams, we have to say they came on top of Korea last weekend.
Absolutely on top. You can't get more top than that. We thought that they might just go on an undefeated record,
almost
just all over.
8-0.
It really wasn't, but came to be that Korea had what it took to at least get one set away. So it's good for them, but we're going to see how Southeast Asia does, because we remember Brand Esports, very much a top contender in that region, see how they do against the Japanese team, because we thought Japan was maybe about just one or few teams that can do really well for this region, but we figured out that all four teams here, they're really talking business here.
Yep, and actually one of the worst teams from Korea, Sandbox, came up with a win.
Yep.
It's very surprisingly, actually. So we actually cannot really draw to the conclusion that Korea took it back just because Sandbox won. That's really unfortunate in a way. And also, Japanese teams now, they're going against Southeast Asia, which should be a big of a pack. Lots of clashes, of course. As you can see, Brand Esports still right on top because they only played 3 matches, of course.
Undefeated, 100%. No one has that 3-digit percentages when it comes to the win rate. Brand Esports can maintain that today if they can win out against their Japanese foes in today's match, and they will still remain that undefeated, the only position to do so. But you see the teams coming right after are mostly about Japan having such a good record over last week.
Yep, only the 4th weekend here. Second week of conference division, as we have regions going against each other, as we still have AHQ left right in there. Sandbox getting a win. Of course, that will boost them into 10th place. We have lots more clash matches coming at you with Southeast Asia and Japanese teams tonight. We'll continue tomorrow and until the Sunday. So we'll have 8 matches, the same format here.
And we're going to see Japan versus Southeast Asia all throughout those 3 days. So this weekend, if you're in for Clash Royale, you'll be seeing these teams that you know and love. And we'll see if Brand Esports, whether they can maintain the undefeated record. We'll see if AHQ can maintain their 0% record as well.
Well, they got to be climbing up a little bit higher than that single digit. They are the only team as well. And you have the matchup. We'll have the matchup for tonight, but these are the 8 matches that we're going to have over the weekend. If you have a favorite team, oftentimes we do see on the chat and the feedback has been that they have lots of favorite teams and they like to root for their own team. If you're from the specific region, of course, root for your region as well.
We are getting game with, I think, one of the top teams right now in Japan. They're going to go up in the first match, and the third match is going to bring the best of SEA with Brand Esports there as well. Of course, a team very, very well known for their 2v2 game, which has been very stellar, ways above the rest of the competitors.
Also starting with kicks from Southeast Asia, of course, from Dylan, the one to play 1v1 and lots of ace matches as well. I'm having high hopes for that player too. So it's going to be very interesting to see which region comes on top. It's going to be only the beginning, but from the first day we do see the trending results a little bit, which happened last weekend. Let's see if that happens once more.
Now I want to take in on your read on G-Clef, exactly what you think SEA kind of stands when compared to Japan as well, because we thought Korea would be a lot closer to Japan in week 1, and we thought that would be a thing, but we quickly realized that wasn't the case, and Korea was just ways below. We just have to agree with that case, because it just didn't seem like they had even a fair contention against the Japanese region as a whole. But we're talking about 8 matches going forth and most of the wins going to Japan. And now we have Southeast Asia trying to do the same, trying to be the better contenders than Korea was.
Yeah, that's certainly right. And I think in terms of, because we have 1v1, 2v2, and then an ace match, in terms of 1v1, I think Japanese teams last weekend, they were much more informed about what the counter decks were. And they oftentimes won the mind games to go into it. And even the 2v2, overall, not just the mind games, overall in 2v2, Japanese teams were really strong, right on top of Korea. But today, I think we have to really see, especially Brand Esports, they're really strong on 2v2. Let's see if the Japanese team can actually dominate that 2v2 once again, continuing from last weekend against Korea.
And still seeing that 1v1 is still the strength, the main strength of Japan, and we're seeing 2v2 kind of as the secret weapon from Southeast Asian teams, especially Brand Esports, and see how they do in these matches to come. Will be an interesting prospect as to see this result from these 8 matches from this weekend can tell us kind of the comparisons of Southeast Asia and Korea. That's another question that we should be throwing out as well, because we don't know the exact comparisons unless we get them head to head. But for now, we'll get information as to see how stronger SEA can be when compared to Korea.
Yeah, of course, after tonight and tomorrow night, of course, after this weekend, we'll have a very good read on what teams are doing, how exactly they're preparing for the matches, how well prepped they are for every single match. Japanese teams with the coaches and even some scolding from the coach. They're going to say they make us practice too hard. That's what you got to do when you're in the pro team.
Whatever it takes to get the results there, and we're gonna actually see a game with Shun. We kind of make this a little format where it's if they have Shun, it's game with Shun, and if they don't have Shun, it's game without Shun. we said that, me and Simon, and we definitely have established that in our polls, and you see them happy faces of the success they have been having so far. These young kids really doing well for this region and really showing that Japan is still the top contender, and that a lot of people still having a lot of trouble dealing with.
Yeah, even that ceremony, it seems like they're really happy, and their goal was to just enjoy first of all and also win. And here on the other side, Kicks. They should be ready. As I mentioned before, Dylan is usually the one that goes in 1v1, and even the ace match has pretty good results to it. The Rock and Rene, oftentimes the 2v2. We haven't really seen too much of the other one, Jahui's. I wonder if he's going to actually make it out to the roster tonight.
Of course, we're looking at Kicks, not the best team in Southeast Asia as a whole, but you know, since we had a 1-week break and have not got to see these guys for an entire weekend, what are some of the players that we should be looking at, especially going onto the series against one of the top Japanese teams right now?
I think from Southeast Asia, Dylan, of course, and Noam Sai, and Jai from the same team.
Yeah.
I think they are the strongest 1v1 players from the region for now, and we only got to see a few games actually, not too many. Seems like lots of teams are actually using their 4th player to be in one of the 2v2 or 1v1 because they lack that knowledge, information going into the match. So we do have that as a secret card coming up sometimes. Let's see if Southeast Asia does the same thing or something else compared to Korea and Japan.
And we're going to see Noam Sai and Jai to see play themselves out in match 3 for Brand Esports. But in game 1, we're going to see Dylan, as you said, one of the players to watch out for in Southeast Asia. He's going to be playing for Kicks. And we'll see if him can kind of rival out some of the aspects of Japan that we have not really got to yet, and we can see kind of some of the weak points that Japan might be able to be vulnerable at, and maybe Southeast Asian teams can take us a little more exposure to that.
Yeah, Clash Royale is a very fun game where our counters can actually be countered by something else. So we can actually have like the triangle of water, fire, and earth in a way, kind of. It's always been like that, but a lot more, of course. Not just 3. There are not just 3 decks. There are a bunch of decks, even with Rascal. Oh man, I'm having some tough time getting those crowns, but still, just to throw that away. But going with the counter decks, because Southeast Asia has been pointing and focusing on to beat down decks so much. They like heavy pushes, which Korea and Japan does not. So maybe it could be very hard countered by the Southeast Asian region as a whole. In terms of meta, they like having the heavy ones. Let's see how well Japanese team can actually do against that today.
That's definitely not Amaterasu. That is definitely Shun, one of my favorite players from the entire tournament. Have shown kind of above the rest performances when it comes to 1v1s, and his reaction time, his positioning, and his knowing how to play the right cards at the same time, just more so than his opponents. That kind of almost makes their opponents look bad at times. We've seen that again and again from Shun, and game with Shun, I mean, this team has done a lot to do well, and they have not lost basically many sets when Shun was on the lineup.
And that's why he's on the 1v1 again. To have that lead, make sure you secure that first one, and then to finish up with the 2v2, you don't even have to play that ace match as the sets go in as best of 3. Here's Dylan, best players from both sides.
Right. Be really interesting to see Shun and Dylan Shun, everybody really knows him now. If you've been
Mhm.
following the Clash Royale League Asia just for our few weeks of coverage, you've already seen that Shun. This guy is a beast, and this guy's a monster, and he will make you look bad as a opponent of your Clash Royale games, and we'll see if he can do that the same and make Dylan look bad as well. But we see Dylan as one a strong contender here in Southeast Asia, especially 1v1 as you mentioned, and see what he can do against Shun is going to be an interesting prospect.
So what the ban cards will be, to see some off meta ban cards coming out, especially from Kick's team. They have been banning lots of the Goblin Barrel and even the Lava Hound ones, and that was only from Dylan too. Maybe he's expecting some heavy pushes as well because he likes those heavy decks. He's the one actually banning those Infernal Dragons sometimes.
And it's worth mentioning that the Japanese teams here today are going to be playing in Taiwan. So they're going to be in the Southeast Asia region, while the Southeast Asian teams, they're going to be in this home ground and have that bit of a home field advantage where Japan had last week over Korea.
The same, we do have the bans. Tornado ban from Shun. And
Pekka ban. Wow.
Pekka.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think we've seen that ever.
Dylan is basically telling everyone in the world right now that I'm going to bring a giant at least, or a golem.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to have another beatdown deck that I love to have into the end. I'm going to push all the way because Shun has been so dominant in the pushes that compared to everyone else right now. So having that Pekka gone basically means he's going to push all the way.
And it's interesting to see that Shun is a very remarkable golem player himself, and we've seen him push that golem in ways that we haven't before. And if he had that information, Dylan, and with the entire Kicks team when they did the preparation going up against Game With, I would have imagined that even a golem ban I thought would have been viable against Shun for him being such a good player in that card. But basically, you knocking off Pekka by yourself allows the other player to play the golem as freely as again.
Shun actually only played Pekka once, but I think it's mostly due to the snipes and what Dylan wants to do in this 1v1. Also Tornado. Of course, we're gonna see a lot more Tornado bans in 2v2. 1v1 not as common. Still against the ones maybe they are thinking about. It seems like from what I can read from the ban cards, they are totally thinking of different decks. Shun, of course, thinking of the very light cycling deck, and Dylan as well, thinking the heavy one instead.
We could be in for a surprise. Might be able to see Golem versus Golem in this 1v1. We see that a lot in 2v2. Obviously, it's more allowed with more elixirs to use and more players to utilize. But in 1v1, we hardly really get a Golem versus Golem fully raged deck. And something we might be able to see is something you see here. And you talk about most deck, you see the most cards being used. It's all about that Golem and those double prints, pulling that forward. And got the Electro-Wizard and also the Guard, just basically supplement the entire Golem rush for that Shun has been doing week in and week out as well.
As you can see, he did run that Golem deck a few times, exact same one. Also with I think with the Rage that was actually used in 2v2 instead. Not in the 1v1, but he has been banning lots of spells. Poison spell and the Tornado spell. This is his 4th Tornado spell ban actually.
But look at Dylan's most deck though. Most used deck includes the Pekka, and he banned the Pekka. Now, what is your take on this, G-Cliff?
First of all, I do not agree that that was the most played card in a way, because he actually used Executioner with Tornado a few times.
Yeah,
and even in 1v1 as a way to clear out, not just the Pekka, he used some Giants as well. Some Pekka only when he was losing and he had to change his deck. But right before, I don't think he had to use that one. Usually he would go for the Golem. Sometimes even Elixir Collector, which we saw banned out from the other Southeast Asian teams against him.
And we'll see what that means though, because we do have an info that he at least played the Pekka a few times for that to be on the list now. But with that being banned out, what does he have on the back of his sleeve here? And what does he have to pull out to kind of surprise Shun in a way that would give him an advantage going forward in this 1v1, but it is going to be Kicks and Game With teams from Japan and Southeast Asia to see who's going to get their first win here. Obviously, Game With looking like the favorites here in this matchup, obviously. If they do win the 1v1 with Shun here, I think that 2v2 is going to give them a high momentum raise. Just going on to the next one.
Certainly that's going to continue right after. And oftentimes we do see lots of 2-0. lots of 2-0 ending because oftentimes you do make mistakes. We see a lot less mistakes compared to the first 2 weeks. Now we're into the conference division. We do have the regionals here. It's both players seems very ready, just warming their hands right now.
Okay, the decks have been compiled and we're ready to go for this game 1. See Shun from Japan for game with on the bottom, on the blue side, and we see on the red side on the top it's going to be Dylan for kicks. Starting us off with the Mega Minion and also the Infernal Wizard just to make sure it's an available counter.
Seems like Dylan is also cycling a little bit, so Shun just throws out their Infernal Dragon because he has to wait for that giant push coming in.
He's also saw the Flying Machine being a pest for the Japanese players, and every time they see that, they just go automatically go with the Fireball to get rid of that.
After seeing the hut though, this may actually not be as big of a push, but here comes the Night Witch.
Okay, we do see Night Witch, which goes very, very well with the usual Golem Rush, but what does that mean though? We do see the Golem as we just mentioned, and we're going to see that being put forth by Dylan first, and how well can Shun defend this one is going to be the key point here.
Let's have the Infernal Dragon, but locks onto the tower already. There's a zap to cancel.
Yep. So it's going to get down to 1700, and it's going to continually go down with the kind of emergency Fireball, and those Spirit Goblins are putting in damage, and that's going to be the first tower going down.
Let's look at nicely down. Having the Baby Dragon at that moment locking to the Golem did not help him too much.
Yeah.
Maybe placing him right after. I believe he was waiting for that cycle because he also had to use that Dark Prince right before. Maybe Infernal Dragon was the card up right after.
It was interesting to see what he can do with that, but obviously Dylan getting the better of that push in that first instance. Now we're going to see the Elixir Collector being put down by Shun.
The moment Shun thought that he has everything to his hand right now, except the tower down, of course, but that poison spell basically did every counter. Did all the damage to the tower, both of the tower and the Elixir Collector as well.
We basically saw Shun's Elixir Collector being wasted there with the poison coming in from Dylan, but now we're going to see the double Golem push. See how that works out.
There's a Lumberjack. As the final card from Dylan wants to push all the way in. Fireball, thrown.
Very nice.
Very nicely done, but still there are lots of units behind Flying Machine and the Dark Witch is coming.
Usually he likes to get the Fireball towards the Flying Machine because we know that can do a lot of damage from such a long range. And can they get that push though? The Lumberjack now coming back here again.
Dylan now dealing with the Night Witch, just throwing down everything. Flying Machine is not dealt with by anything from Shun. We'll actually get a great defense here.
8 seconds and 7 seconds to go. Will we see Dylan just raise his hands up and celebrate his first victory? Because we think we're going to get it with that first tower going down so quickly for him. That first Golem push that came very, very early in this game. And Shun could not be able to defend that. And that's going to be the first game now going over to Dylan.
Very well controlled by Dylan there, having some pushes. I think that the biggest difference in this very first game was that Dylan had the hut to actually chip some damage, which did most of the damage directly to the tower.
Yeah.
And because the Infernal Dragon was locked into the Golem as well as the Baby Dragon, when Shun actually wanted to have his own push, it was way too late, and his cycle was purely a little bit too bad to start with.
Now you saw the Baby Dragon being used for Shun just to get rid of the bats that were coming from the Night Witch, but if he had summoned that just a little bit behind the Golems and maybe targeted the Spear Goblins that were coming from the Goblin Hut, we might have had a different game because we saw most of the damage being done by the 3 Spear Goblins just being summoned and having a free time on that tower after the Golem provides all the tanking.
Yep, that was even without the Lumberjack onto the for the first tower to be down.
Yeah.
So, which was a big pain for Shun to actually deal with in this case. Fireball, oftentimes a very good spell, but not enough damage to take down most of what's on the back. The Night Witch will still survive after taking a hit from Fireball.
Now it's interesting to see that Shun, this might have been the first time where he feels daunting, if you say. Just feel underwhelmed about his loss against the player. I feel like the times that he lost, it wasn't many, but when he did, it was a very close matches that he almost won out but lost by inches, but him being basically schooled by Dylan there. In that first game, kind of tells us that Sean he might have to do a little more focusing to make sure he's ready for the second game here.
Game 2, of course, even with that expected push from Dylan, Shun could not really defend it as well. Now he does have the collector to begin with.
He's going extra aggressive here. Shun just trying to make sure he's ready for that
But
big
Dylan
push.
switches to a charge, like with the Battle Ram. Very likely we'll get to see the Bandit as well as the Dark Prince.
Okay, we're going to see the Fireball utility used.
Does land on the tower directly.
Yeah, so it's going to get the charge on. But Dylan, nice shot of taking down the Elixir Collector and the Night Witch with that Fireball. So very nice. Now, even Zappy Speed coming in. That's annoyance.
Poison will just take them out, but as well, great way of defending with just 4 elixirs.
Zappies can be really good in terms of defending just to make sure it slows down all the enemies coming through. And Dylan, good use there to make sure he gets no damage onto his tower. Okay, so it's another Elixir Collector being used now by Shun. Another charge onto left side. Lumberjack just trying to finish him off. Just make sure he doesn't get the charge.
Great reaction time by Shun there to just drop down whatever he had at the moment. Lumberjack and even getting the rage.
Yeah, Night Witch is going to survive for now, but it's still going for that Fireball just to get that +2 train. Make sure the Elixir Collector does minimal work.
Of course, your tower's damaged on the right side. You don't want to place your Elixir Collector onto the same side anymore. The Fireball will be doing damage to your tower as well. So Shun changing the direction, going to the other lane.
Oh, but the Zappy someone on the right side. Don't know if that's the right position to go there. He's just going to go all in on the right tower to make sure he gets this one before anything else.
Right after the Golem, Shun does not have enough to defend anyhow.
Yeah.
He will lose it. Might as well just trade it for the left side. He's going to make that push.
How long can those Barbarians last? That's the big question. And do a little bit of damage onto that King's Tower. Obviously, you see the Infernal Dragon being zapped out, but otherwise, still going to do decent damage onto the Golem there.
So Bandit does not get the dash to the tower. Just land on a unit.
Okay, but it does get that one dash and a few hits, and its 2 mini Golems are still alive. And that will be the tower trade for Shun now. Getting that one go through it. The Elixir Collector is still running. If he can just defend this against this charge, this is looking very good for Shun now.
In terms of the damage,
Oh.
Shun getting a near perfect defense with the dash from Bandit as the last move, so he has caught up.
Yeah, but the Elixir Collector is still running, so that's a lot of advantage now going over to Shun. If he can get this pushed in, go for that 3 crowns, I'm sure he's going to try to do. I wonder if Dylan can be able to fight back for this.
So Shun goes all the way into Fireball, not really targeting the Elixir Collector. Might have been a mistake there.
Yeah, I think he would have went for the Elixir Collector more than a Night Witch.
It was possible to catch both of them at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice Golem. It's taken out. Infernal Dragon locks onto the Golem. Is there a zap available? Not yet. Doesn't even want to risk it. Fireball actually gets the Golem down. The first one, Gold Mites on top. And this may be just 3 crowns. Poison landing on everything. Tossed down right in there. Rage secures the kill.
My goodness, and Shun, he was ready to go. When every time his Elixir Collector would chip down by the Fireball, he knew what he was waiting for to go full in on the other side. And that's where the question came in when, you know, the first Golem push came in on the left. Did Dylan really need to just give up his left side and go all the way to the right, as you saw with the Zappies and the Dark Prince summon right after the Golem was summoned?
Dylan could not keep his patience.
Yeah.
Fireball not landing on the Elixir Collector. 10 seconds before and 3 seconds before. He was trying to use that Fireball right after the first Golem splits into the Gold Mites and then tried to take multiple damage onto them, but it was hit right before, so the Gold Mites had 100% HP, going directly to the King Tower, which was a bit of a mistake there. He felt rushed. Everything was coming directly at him. He was going to lose no matter what if that happened, so.
In retrospective, we asked the question of if Dylan defended the left side, that first rush that came from Shun with the Golem. He saw the Golem being summoned. Then he summoned the Zappies on the right side. So he's wanting to go full in on the right side and just go on to make sure he secures that first crown. But we knew that first crown was going to be inevitable because the right tower from Shun was absolutely low in that instance. So we thought that if he would just defend the left side and maybe going for the right side later in that instance, he ended up losing his left tower, then eventually the 3 crowns right after that.
Yep, it's a tough choice when you have to make. When you throw down a Golem to the left side, you will not only defend your own left side, but also gets your chance to attack all the
Yeah.
way in. That's the thing. Shun basically knew that coming in. Dylan does not have anything as powerful as he does to actually go directly to the King Tower. King Tower does less damage, but it's a lot more HP to work with. So in terms of how far you want to push in, Shun, he knew that he had all the potentials to go in.
We see the master of the golems with Shun showing it off once again. That 3 crown. It's not really no slouch for this man because we've seen him do it again and again. Coming with the 3 crowns to get the victory over his opponent. And that made Dylan look quite silly in the way that he was just lost very casually there.
Guards to do with the miner, and also the skeletons from the barrel will actually land a decent amount of hit.
Yep. So he didn't have a direct answer to those skeleton, not spells. Anything to work with. I don't think he had the zap because he was not in rotation. He used it a little bit earlier. Lava Hound this time around for Shun.
At the golems last time, it's going to be air in game 3.
Now we're going to see the Lava Loon combo with the Balloon and the Lava Hound in play. That might be a possibility. We still have 2 cards. Yes, we do. So the Balloon is going to be in play. It's going to speed up the Lava Hound as well.
Who brings the skeleton barrel right after.
Okay, so kind of a weird choice in the way he brought that up. Look at the Balloon. It's still going at it. Second drop. And that's a freebie. That's an absolute freebie for Shun. Getting 83 damage. That will be secured by the death damage of the Balloon. And that first tower now going over Shun.
Dylan does have the spells. He didn't really want to use it in a way. Maybe he was having a low spell. Very, very low spell. So that can't really do too much damage to the Balloon directly. I believe that has to be the only way because he was holding on to that. Fireball, of course, does not take the Balloon out, but it does most of the damage.
Now, we saw Shun do this to multiple opponents where they make them look really bad, like as if they made a really big mistake, but it was just Shun being masterful in his craft of trying to just push toward that tower, and this time it's the Lava Hound and the Balloon combo. And he had no answer whatsoever. Dylan had no answer to that push whatsoever.
Yeah, he only had a zap, so he was just holding that forever and ever, no defense against that Lava Loon.
Lava Hound, Balloon.
It's just going to continue. Shin, knowing after all the 10 cards, he's just going all the way in. He wants to trade, make this into a push, but Dylan, he's going all in.
Gonna go for the 3 crowns here. How long can he make it though? The Balloons gonna be stopped very well by the bats here. But still the Lava Hound is gonna be going forward. And the second Lava Hound now just trying to tank it up to go forward as much as he can. 823 on the second tower and eventually will go down. Very nicely done by Shun on second tower. That is going to be ending in 10 seconds. How does Dylan come back from this, having to get a fresh tower on the left?
Even a Sparky is not going to be so perfect for Dylan. Throws it from the last miner to the King Tower. That's going to be it. Shun coming back strongly in game 1.
Oh my goodness. And, you know, we thought that maybe Dylan winning out in game 1 might have indicated to us that we were going to get a very close matchup, but game 2 and 3 is exactly what we've seen from Shun again and again.
Well, Dylan, I think he started to lose his mental strength after game 2 when the Golem came in, got that King Tower down. I mean, 3 crowns all the way in 1v1. That's got to be frustrating most of the time. Even in ladder, it's most of the time a tie, a draw, or just a single crown. But all the way to the King Tower, that's got to be very, very frustrating as a pro player here.
You gotta look at this. Shun is just trying to make that statement. I am the best 1v1 player in this entire Clash Royale League Asia. If you don't believe me, I'll play game after game and show that I can dominate over anyone. And he's done it over Dylan again. We thought Dylan would have been one of the best 1v1 players in the entire Southeast Asia region, at least one of them. But he was absolutely schooled in games 2 and 3.
In game 1 and 2, and Dylan, game 1, of course, the one that he brought his own Golem. He seemed very confident. He had nice controls of the defense and the push. Once he switched to the decks that he was not really comfortable with, like we could really see that with the controls and the throw of the spells sometimes, where the placement of them and also the timings were a little bit off.
Yeah.
In terms of his defense, most likely his trade was not really too even. It was his loss all the time when he wanted to have a better trade. So knowing that it just seems like the Golden ones actually work so much better for Dylan. The other decks, I'm not quite sure yet.
Okay, so we're going to look at this 2v2 now after Shun brought them the victory with that 1v1. We're going to go on to the group matches here. Amaterasu, one of the players that has done a lot for his team to make sure he plays the most important games to give them the clutch plays that in terms of results can get them the win. He played last week when Shun wasn't in the team, wasn't in the lineup, and Amaterasu did most of the carrying for that game and did very well to bring his team another victory. Now, talk about a 4-1 record overall in this Clash Royale League Asia over the 4 weeks so far. Gonna see him with his partner. Make sure they bring the 2v2 victory once again.
Having lots of wins in 2v2 as well, lots of experience. Yuhira as his partner, and they had some great defenses.
Yeah.
Not really using the Skeleton Giant at all, but having the golden push, but just making it better with their ones. Lots of better placement with the spells. They're always getting full value with the poison. If that Span Tornado has been the one they could also use.
Yuhiro and Amaterasu has been the signature duo for Game With ever since the season began, and now we're looking at this and seeing these two players. Can they make the other two players now for Kicks look really, really bad again and just really secure their dominance in this entire tournament as the best region and possibly the best team in the entire tournament so far?
Yeah, that could happen. That could happen in this weekend, I think. If they rise up on top after playing three matches over the weekend. They could just, of course, they lost one match against the Japanese team. That's it. But none of the other region teams defeating Game With may just go with 100% win rate over the C games.
Yeah. It's absolutely exciting to see how stronger Japan actually is. We saw how strong Japan was, you know, starting from the first week when we saw them on Sundays in the regional clashes. I'll be talking about the teams from Japan going against each other to see who the best Japanese team is, but the fun really began starting in week 3. You know, when we're talking about these teams trying to go with different regions, to make sure, you know, who has a stronger regional advantage, but we saw that in last week, Japan was a lot stronger than Korea was, and you know, if we do see that again here against Southeast Asia, it's going to be an interesting story to keep following.
We do have the bans, of course. It's Tornado card.
Top priority.
Tornado just delaying the attacks, or even used as an offensive tool. Sometimes, basically, it takes out lots of the cards. Most of the cards that 2v2 players would use. And even if I try Tornado, sometimes my teammate would not coordinate as much. So personally, has not been really working as well. But in this case, oftentimes we had lots of poisons, fireballs, even the rockets sometimes.
But still, Tornado has been top priority undoubtedly
Yes.
over the weeks, and we talked about 2v2. What is the best single spell for defensive units? And that is going to be Tornado every single time. If you can have 2 tornadoes in your hands, you know, you and your teammate, and just go over a couple of seconds where your opponents cannot do anything, even with 20 units clustered up together. And you know, we've seen that in the past where Tornado can do so much wonders in the defensive end of things in 2v2.
So guess what? How strong Tornado could have been even before the nerfs came in.
Yeah.
5 seconds of Tornado. That could be
10 seconds. That's literally 10 seconds if you do 2 tornado cards in a row for defense efforts. You're literally going to have just one unit, a wizard or whatever, the execution, anything that does area damage. 10 seconds to keep your enemies at bay.
now it's down to 2 seconds each, so only 4 seconds max. So even with that, it's pretty long of a time to be banned out all the time in this kind of 2v2.
Right.
So Tornado's still very strong. Now we see lots of poison for 8 seconds. That's good enough to do great amount of damage to all the units along with the tower. Oftentimes we even had I believe our first tie in 2v2 last weekend.
We did, and it was just a back and forth match where the other team was trying to win the game, and the other team kind of gave up winning the game and tried to defend out just to make sure they hold on and stall all the way to that 0-minute mark.
CS players, after looking at the ban, shouldn't be too hard, as both teams banned the same card. Should be expecting the decks just having final checks.
You have 1 more minute for these 2 players from both teams to really compose their final decks in preparation for this first game. Of course, we do have these opportunities where after each game you can switch up your decks just to make sure you're quite comfortable with what you're heading into next. But we've seen that, you know, once a dominating deck does come forth, it's mostly up to the losers to switch up their decks mostly.
Cycling is a lot easier in this 2v2, but A key point to notice in lots of the heavy pushes that's going to be coming in from both teams, from Kicks and GameWith, will be of the placement and the timing of the Infernal Dragon, because oftentimes we even have double golden pushes when they have enough elixirs, sometimes that right on top of the bridge, and you have to be ready with the Infernal Dragon to do the damage. You can't really stack them together because one zap could just reset both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
So you really need that teamwork together.
Really been about the collaboration and to make sure that communication does provide for a very effective, where the two players literally have to become one in the way you can play out these 2v2. And we've seen that being done by the best of the best so far. Kicks obviously still in the middle of the bracket when it comes to the rankings of our perspective of the Southeast Asian region so far, but they are going up against what we think may be the best team in the entire tournament.
Yeah, that could happen. I've tried 2v2 with my two own devices. It was pretty bad.
You know, you gotta have two people become one, not one
I
people
thought I'll
become
be
two.
better. I thought I'll be better because I can actually be myself and control two at the same time, but you have to have two people being together, synchronized as being one player. You can't just have yourself controlling the two.
We can see that you definitely read that theory
Maybe
upside
it's just
down. I don't know. Any obstacles are on the line, G-Cliff, and we've seen that, you know, 2v2, it does take great amount of cooperation, and that is one of the biggest things when it comes to working together, because you're not alone in this one. If you have only one good player and the other really not willing to cooperate, you're going to have a situation where you're literally just going 2v1 against a team that does speak a lot more to each other, and trust is there for the two players, and to make sure that whatever they do, the other is always agreeing upon it.
That's right, 2v2. You need that communication, and we are in. Of course, Tornado Man is out there. Let's see what kind of card we are going to have with start. We're going for that Lava Hound.
And even the Mega Minion pushing it forward a lot faster. Gonna see the Golem on the other side for Japan though, with GameWith, Amaterasu and Yuihiro for GameWith. Trying to make that into the play.
Infernal Dragon locks onto the Lava Hound. Will get taken out easily.
Yeah, even the Mega Minion could have theoretically knocked away, obviously, the Infernal Dragon, but we saw it being anchored away by the guards. Right on time, so very nicely played by GameWith there.
Ooh, look at this push, continuing the Dragons are going directly in. Now even the Double Prince, the Rage Potion right on top.
Okay.
Gets the charge onto the tower.
One push that comes through with one hit. That does come for that Prince, so definitely a trade won by GameWith on that occasion.
That's Elixir's about the same. I think a little bit more came out from GameWith in that push. Still having a better one because they had Infernal Dragon just walking towards that bridge from far away, locking onto that Lava Hound initially. Getting that damage was crucial.
You can see an almost simultaneous summon of the Lava Hound, but did two Lava Hounds? This is going all in for Kicks, and we've seen this again and again where, you know, Southeast Asia region as a whole, they either like to go all in or nothing. And we've seen that from multiple instances, but we're going to see two Lava Hounds. If this doesn't work out, definitely would tell that the defensive efforts from Kicks will definitely be absent as well.
Now Infernal Dragon does lock onto the second Lava Hound. Get taken out.
It's a corner. That's definitely a fail for the double Lava House, getting no damage onto the opponent tower.
In the meantime, Golem does a lot more.
Yeah. 738 with the poison. Doing so much right now. Even that Dark Prince is not going to get the charge, and nothing is going to get their damage yet, except that one hit coming from that Flying Machine.
With the poison spell, totally worth it.
Yeah.
Doing the damage, and Princess Tower just taking every single one of them out.
Look at that double Golem though. Double Golem versus double Lava Hound. As long as he can just aggro that Lava Hound away, make sure the Infernal Dragon knocks it away just like that, melts it into pieces. We're gonna see.
Great poison from Kicks, and the Miner has started to do damage, but Dark Prince already been dropped.
Yeah, we're gonna look at this 687, 642. The most important thing is now, can Kicks get this tower here? This is going to be the most important thing, but another Miner being summoned.
But guards will actually get a great counter against it.
Oh, it's not gone, so
Only
it's
26 with a good trade with the towers both sides.
Okay, so we might just see a 3-crown race from both of these teams. But actually, we're going to see the other end of things where Lava Hound is being summoned on the side of Kicks on the right side. So 2-crown is going to be no option here. Once again, double summon.
It's worked a lot better for Kicks this time with the Musketeer, with the Flying Machine. It's continuing that push on their side.
Okay,
Inferno Dragon already taken out from the Flying Machine alone. Nicely done.
okay. You can see the Miner. The little giblets do some damage onto the tower. The second Lava Hound trying to do as much as it can. It's going to be underwhelmed for the time being. That golden push from GameWith has been stopped to a halt there.
Yep, no damage. It was early on. Broken in half by the Inferno Dragon.
Okay, we're going to still see there's a lightning spell coming through to get the two Infernal Dragons very, very weak. Are we going to see this keep going here as the rage comes about? Double mini golems trying to do as much damage as they can. 1535 here, but with the Mega Minions putting out so much damage here. Can survive here.
Great trade to push their own in, but Flying Machine does not get the lock on the tower, but Miner will get some damage done right now with the poison spell.
That was a very aggressive Lava Hound summon right in front of the King's Towers there, and very easy to defend against when you're GameWith. You have two Infernal Dragons to work with. Now we're going to see this Justice and aggressive of a summon right there with the Golem from GameWith. See how much this can push.
The real push is coming from the Prince to get the charge off from the shield from the Prince.
Okay, but we're going to get this charge. That doesn't connect. See how this goes though. The Infernal Dragon getting free hits. I think this is going to be the game end here, but it does get stopped.
Very close.
269.
Too close. And the poison will not finish it, but it will be very close to a finish. They just have to defend this one timing.
Yeah, just one more spell rotation is needed to get 53 damage. Anything, any one hit from anything could finish this game for GameWith. Let's see this here, and that's all it takes. Just a one lightning spell, 6 elixir. A little bit overkill there for GameWith, but still gets the job done. So it's been going back and forth, and we saw GameWith ahead and race to that first crown, obviously, but we saw Kicks coming right back with their first crown of their own, but that second crown now does go over to GameWith with that rotation of spells.
Yep, GameWith having the lead in that 2v2. This has been a very entertaining, fantastic 2v2 to actually watch. Double Lava Hound versus Double Golden. Which one goes better? Which one is better? Because they both sides actually had lots of Inferno Dragon. The differences were few of the ground units, like GameWith had Prince, and which Kicks did not. But Kicks had Flying Machine, which GameWith did not. So it's, in terms of the card, how they wanted to have the push. The last push with Kicks just having the Flying Machine with maybe like 10 health and having the Lava Hound summon, which was a bit of a waste. That's why also, that's the reason why GameWith could have their major golden push right after.
Okay, we're going to get a timeout from Kicks after suffering that defeat in that 2v2 versus GameWith, and Yuhira Mataratsu from GameWith showing strong as a typical duo that does bring home the goods, and we've seen that again, see how they did, and GameWith are still on top here, looking like to finish strong in this first series.
They are on the match point. If they bring one more game to themselves, they won the first set, they will secure the second set as well. And that will just be game over. And so they do have to call the timeout. Of course, timeout only being available once per match. That may be the last game, so they gotta use it. Just not better than just not using it and getting that 1 minute. Maybe may give them some time to actually come up with a new idea, or just remind themselves, okay, this was available last time. They played that they played this long time ago. Maybe they're gonna try this again. Let's just try to have some cycles, the way to actually defend against it.
I feel like they didn't have a reverse counter to the Inferno Dragon being true to the counter itself against the Lava Hounds, and even with two. If you have just the Inferno Dragon just knocking it down, just melting that away, then you know that's gonna really just limit your Lava Hound doing any damage to the tower.
Yeah, that was greatly done by both teams. Never really, only few times after the first one actually survived. Even against the Double Golem or the Double Lava Hound, they will only place one Inferno Dragon. Just because if there's a spell that would actually take out two or reset two with the zap. So making sure you land one first and then the other one, which could be a lot slower. But having that teamwork just in play, it seemed like everything was practiced from either side. And it just came down to the patient, how effective you can actually make your push at the end.
Okay, but you know what, G-Clip, what has impressed me about GameWith is that even if they are on a roll, even if they are considered by many as the best team in the tournament so far, I feel like they are still working their butts off to make sure they are better for every single week.
Now they bring their own miner this time.
Oh, that's an early summon of the Infernal Dragon, trying to just go up against that Golem, obviously. But we see a P.E.K.K.A here, trying to be that true counter.
Was banned for 1v1, but not in this case. Prince getting that charge off of P.E.K.K.A.
Prince is gonna have no chance going up against his P.E.K.K.A here. And we're gonna see how far this can go in. You see the Infernal Dragon from the kicks, just doing damage to the skeleton being summoned out of the tombstones.
Electro Wizard to delay and basically just take out the Infernal Dragon.
Absolute nullification of the Infernal Dragon when you can get that done.
Once again, the Miner Prince has to come behind, so Miner actually does have somewhat of time to do the damage. Goes down to 1600.
Some cycling here. Make sure they are ready for this one. You see the rocket being played to get away for the Infernal Dragon. That is overkill, obviously. You're using 6 elixirs to kill a 4 elixir unit. And really, you're not killing anything off with it. So that's a loss of elixir for Kicks there. And even that Golem does not make the final push.
Yeah, Kicks, they would have liked to connect that damage along with that power. Maybe then they will get the full value, but didn't really connect anything. Was straight to the ground, only getting Infernal Dragon in that case. But they wanted to cycle a little bit by throwing down that spell.
Exactly what you saw out that elixir win trade from game with from Amaterasu and Yuihiro. You saw them go very aggressively after that second push.
They did some more damage with small units in hand, down to 1100. Kicks, what else do they have in push? There seems to be lots of solutions, even the Electro Wizard has been the one. Hunter now coming in for the push as well.
See how this goes. Good use of the poison there. The P.E.K.K.A to finish off, to chop off the enemies. We're going to see him get that done. Even the Electro Wizard very nicely done so that his P.E.K.K.A stays alive.
Perfect
there.
defense.
Very nice there. Very reverse counter. Very much needed there. Prince being summoned again, but you see the Miner and the Electro Wizard doing a lot of damage to the tower.
Ooh, I believe GameWit has got in control of this. They just have to defend. Here comes another Infernal Dragon. Cannot zap away 2 at the same time.
Yeah. And you know that's going to be the end of that Golem. Obviously just going forward once again. And even the Mega Man just trying to wipe off the opponent. Infernal Dragon showing wits about their defensive strats here.
Great guards just in time.
Wonderful.
Delay that charge from Prince.
Oh, and an offensive P.E.K.K.A being summoned. Just that one swipe is needed. That's all they need. And
double the Miner and the Fireball to secure the tower. That's basically, that will be game over and match set point for GameWit.
Absolute domination from the Japanese side once again in GameWit. Amaterasu and Yuihiro showing why they are so strong. 1v1 it's been about Shun, 2v2 it's been about these guys, Amaterasu and Yuihiro. These two guys with the duo have shown that 2v2 can be just as dominative as we saw from the 1v1s from Shun every time.
Hey, I could really see, I could really tell they are one of the better teams, for sure. Maybe the best team, not shown yet, only into week 4, but starting from today, I could really tell they are on top. Not just 1v1 with Shun, of course, being your favorite player as well, but 2v2, they've got their push controlled, their defense all the time, who to place in front of Dragon first, and then later on onto the other side all the time. Every single spell, the placement has been near perfection for this 2v2.
Everything that GameWith has done in 1v1, 2v2, it doesn't matter. Even Ace Match, you talk about anything, everything has been spot on, and everything they did, it's understandable why they do such things. And sometimes when you're so close to perfection and your opponents are having a hard time dealing with that, it just makes them look really bad. And we've seen it again and again. That's the win is not the important thing for GameWith. It's about winning in a convincing manner that makes your opponents look bad.
Yeah, that's how dominant they were. You're right, Joel. You're certainly right, Joel, and as how dominant they can actually be. And it's also great to watch them. They never lose their cool. They never lose control of what they wanted to do, how they want to defend and attack in their own way. It was actually amazing to watch their 2v2 today. I think one of the best 2v2 I've ever seen from GameWith so far.
One of the most dominant 2v2s ever played by any team. I think even when we had the strongest team from Southeast Asia, Brand Esports, do their 2v2 against perhaps one of the weaker teams with the HQ, playing against them 2v2, we saw domination, obviously, being more practice, being more, in terms of quality, more completeness when it comes to Brand Esports type of play in those 2v2s. Saw them very dominant over the side of HQ, but this time, game with versus any team right now, you might see something that's more dominant than what you've seen out of Southeast Asia.
Hey, they still haven't faced against Team G Clef and Team Joel.
I don't want them to face
That's
against
the next
Team Joel.
level, but
You know, if anything, I'll use my life saving just to get Sean on my team. That's the thing.
That is certainly true. Let's jump into the interview as we do have the translation tonight.
勝利おめでとうございます。
那这个现在战绩已经来到了5胜1败，也就是最领先的位置，是非常非常有机会进到季后赛的。那你们有没有特别
So
为
you
季
have
后赛提早做准备
so
了吗？
you most probably will going to be in the finals.
で何かこう
I would like to
これからの
ask how you
試合に
feel
向か
about
って
this.
何かこう心の準備とか何か準備をしてあることがありますか？
今、暫定1位なので、このまま勝利を続けていって1位を取っていきたいと思っています。
我希望就是现在是继续保持实力战。
So we hope we can keep doing our best on the
几
games.
位选手都是第一次来到台湾吗？
皆さんは初めて。
So is this your first time in Taiwan?
僕はそうです。初めてです。
我们都是第一次来台湾。
Yeah, we all are first time in Taiwan.
台湾についてどう思いますか？
やっぱり思ってた以上に、暑かったのがとても印象強かったです。
最有印象的是天气很热。
So I think Taiwan is really, really
那
hot.
问一下，
The weather is
第
really
一
hot.
场比赛一上来是先输给了敌人1个小分，那你马上做的调整是怎么样抓到后面2场比赛？
So in the first game, you have actually got beaten by Dylan. But after that, I would like to ask what sort of strategy you had to yourself.
怎么样去马上做调整？
で、ちょっと負けたらその
So
後
yeah,
の
how did you
心の
adjust
準備は
your
どうやって
strategies?
こう乗り越えたですか
1試合目で自分が勝ってそのまま2試合目も取って、仲間に託したかったっていうのはあったんですけど、1回目負けてちょっと気持ちが焦ってしまったんですけど、しっかり落ち着かせてそのまま2連勝できて仲間につなげられてよかったと思ってます。
一开始就是本来第一站，然后输了很紧张，然后有点焦虑，但是有尽量的让自己保持冷静。
Well, actually, after the first match, I was quite
好，那我们
nervous,
再次
but
恭喜 Ganwis
I tried really
拿下
hard
比赛
to
那
keep my condition
这个
well. So
改め
yeah,
てお
I
めで
think
とうございま
that's
す。
how I got
好，那我
the
们
rest
采访
of
就
the
到这边，
games
稍微休息一下，等等马上回来。
ありが
in
とう
the
ござい
better
ました。
condition.
It's a very good interview there by mostly Sean. It was really all about him, and understandably so. I think he just might be the best player we have in this tournament. We said it again and again. I've said it since week 1. None of you guys were believers of me, and now you're seeing a little bit more and more about what Sean can be in this level.
I'm certainly going closer to that being a believer in
Yeah.
Shun, as his mechanics are certainly great right now.
You can believe all you want. We have more time for you to believe because we're going to be back after a short break onto our next series. And so we're going to stay tuned and we'll be back up for more Clash Royale. Welcome back, guys, to Clash Royale League Asia as we're continuing our action between Southeast Asia and Japan to see how stronger Japan actually is. We saw they were very strong when they went against Korea last week around, but this week they're showing they're just as strong here.
Yeah, it's continuing so far into the first match, and now we're into the second match. Very dominant performance by Game Wit there against Kicks game 1. A little bit of trouble in very first game, but very convincing right after game 2, 3. We had a massive comeback, and even 2v2. Basically, after having that first game loss, they won everything else.
Basically, haven't dropped a game since, and they've won their games in dominant fashion each game out. And we've seen right now, Kiss Gaming didn't have what it took to really overcome Game With on this instance. But if we see them battle again, I wonder if they're going to be able to beat them.
We'll see. We'll see if that continues with Puno Sports from Japan, and that's going to be the one, Raiki Jones with Mikambuya, Tengad. Tengad has been the usual 1v1 player for them, and even Fuchi, who has not been playing for a long time, finally came out last weekend as one of the members for 2v2. He has been showing quite impressive moves as he had some great, actually one of the mistakes I believe came out from this 2v2 from Puno Sports.
See these players supposedly very excited about today's matchup, and we saw the domination coming from Game With, and now we could expect the same from Chaos Theory. Obviously, if they can do the same dominant performance that their other allies in Japanese teams with Game With did over Kicks Gaming, just another statement being made that Japan is kind of miles away from all the other regions so far.
Chaos Theory, of course, a team from Southeast Asia. I think it's very interesting how they each team's kind of forced to have some ceremony to have like, but it's 100% awkwardness filling the screen.
It's like us saying, and welcome back to Clash Royale League Asia. We're
used to it, so it's a lot more natural. But
kind of,
it's like we have to play a Sudoku in front of the camera, and like there are like tons of people watching us online. That's kind of what I felt from the players at the moment, saying,
I still think they're having a good time, G-Clef. I think it's still about competition. And think about, still regions between regions, seeing how they clash with each other and how they compare in terms of skill level. And we've seen the story with Japan. How stronger are they? How much stronger can they be? And we've been asking that question from week 1 up to now week 4. Now we see the second week of regional clashes as we do the conference division, where we did usually have Korea versus Japan, and Japan just run away with things. And we asked that question again after week 4 now. How can they do that same performance? Can they do it again against Southeast Asia? And if that is the case, then Japan just heaps above everyone in the competition, and that's something that we want to keep watching out for.
And even the home and away system, it is there for all regions to play at home and away. But Japan, now they actually left their home, went to Taiwan, as the interview said, it's very hot right there. It's the temperature-wise, as Taiwan is known as a very warm place. We do have the 1v1 selected already. Raiki Jones is going to be the 1v1 player from
Not thank God.
Interesting, as he does have 2 in, and that was the only one. Not really showing his 1v1 skills as much. And also something else that I've heard from lots of Korean players, they were actually very, very excited to go overseas because they know the players. They have been out there for such a long time, but they talk online only, and they would never get to see face-to-face.
Right. And that is interesting because now we do have Japan not in the comfort of their home. They have to travel over to Taiwan to play against these Southeast Asian players here, and JTV is going to be the one of the lineup for Chaos Theory.
Of course, having some wins. 2-1 in 1v1 and 2v2, 3 wins to 2. But I believe, from what I remember on his 1v1, that he switched out every single time, even if after winning, which was one of the first ones we saw from Southeast Asia. It seemed like they were just keeping the same deck, even after losing a game, they kept the same one. They just placing a few different cards, keeping the same key cards like the Golem or having the Dark Prince as a push.
Oh, we're actually going to see a giant ban from Rocky Jones. What does that mean? I mean, are we going to see something like, I don't know, the Golem? Or are we going to see Expo? Are you seriously thinking Expo's going to come out with a giant ban coming through?
It's possible. And it's certainly impossible in a way that maybe he's thinking of some structure decks or even a spawner deck that we had last weekend.
Okay.
Lots of Goblin Hut, Barbarian Huts as well.
Now, what I always never really understood about giant bans in particular is that if you just don't want heavy rushes coming towards anyone, why don't you just ban a Golem instead of a giant?
But if you have the information of your opponent, then he likes to play giant instead of the Golem or the
Okay.
P.E.K.K.A. I think it's the way to go. Of course, the common one, very common, will be the Elixir Collector or the Golem or the P.E.K.K.A. instead, because P.E.K.K.A. oftentimes bans the other two.
Yeah.
Basically counters the other two. Golem, of course, you can have that great push, but once you're low on Elixir, without the Elixir Collector, oftentimes it's hard. So Elixir Collector, we do see a lot of bans, especially from Southeast Asia, but it seems like it's a targeted ban card here.
Okay, but we're not really seeing that in the hands of JTV as the most used cards here, the most used deck. It does include a P.E.K.K.A. and even a Valkyrie in the mix as well. It's a little bit unconventional, kind of similar to our solo games when we play at our casual games here. Do see a lot of Valkyries and a little bit at Musketeer as well. Just going to take a look at Rocky Jones and what he likes to play. He's going to go super light, of course, with the Golem in the mix. Everything just accompanying in that harmony, just to make sure that Golem push does work to perfection.
Right, even with that, he has been... That's mostly the 2v2 ones that he has been using.
Yeah.
But on his 1v1, he actually banned Expo before.
Okay.
So I think we have slightly higher of a chance with that giant ban to actually see that Expo coming out from Rocky Jones this time.
That will be quite exciting. We always know that Expo decks are mostly about cycling to make sure you are always ready to summon that next Expo and to keep your opponents off guard.
Did you know that Expo would actually do over 4,000 damage to a tower?
If it wasn't touched.
If it wasn't touched.
Wow.
4,000. Well, it goes for, I believe, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
If it's not touched, so oftentimes it's going to be harassed with
Sure.
anything. And Giant is the card actually to perfectly counter against the Expo.
And it's relatively a low elixir cost for such a tanky liner. I'm talking about with Giant being a 5 elixir card, does a lot of tanking, and something like the Expo will be hugely frustrated when you do have a Giant standing just right in front of it.
Even with the Tesla Tower, oftentimes the pair with the Expo, also the small units like the archers, it's come in handy, but not in the time where Expo actually wants to do the damage. Giant will get at least 20-30 seconds out of that maximum 40 seconds for Expo.
Let's see what happens though, because we do have 15 seconds before we begin this game between Raiki Jones and also the player from Chaos Theory, JTV. See how they do in this first game here.
There is their get ready, ready for that 1v1. I think we're about ready as the timer just ran out.
I think the players are ready to go, just as we are, to see how the two teams pair. And it's really about, can we keep that continuing trend of Japan just so much better than anybody else, and that does include Southeast Asia.
Certainly right about that, Joel. As we're slowly approaching, maybe we're having some delays. I don't think we're gonna have too much delays, and as soon as they accept the match, we'll go right into that 1v1.
See the thumbs up coming from the referee, indicating that we're gonna be getting into the game soon, and the players are standing in their battle pose here and gonna be ready to go. Raiki Jones versus JTV. Gonna see the Japanese team on the bottom once again. Raiki Jones down there on the blue side, and the red side will be indicating Chaos Theory with JTV on the top.
Where it goes with the log. Is this going to be the one that happened with lots of charging cards as well?
See, rush decks. Talking about charge.
The Hog Rider, yes, this is the one that we saw a lot from China.
Forcing the Lava Hound though for JTV. See what he can do with this against this charging composition. Already gets the tower down to 1608 with that one Hog Rider summon.
Hunter may not be enough to defend even the balloon. Lava Hound basically hitting all the shots. Balloon gets a direct hit at least once.
One drop. 3 Musketeers just getting it away just to make sure it does minimal damage. 3 Musketeers still doing a very good job, but takes the minimal damage of that, but eventually becomes 61 on the board, even doing damage to the 2 of the Musketeers.
Basically, that's a tower down, but a good trade. Good amount of damage landing on with the bro. Goes down to 310.
Yeah, but look at the left tower as well, 1432. So on the end of things, Raiki Jones is just a little bit on the winning end of things.
And he does have the Hog Rider to go directly, and also the Royal Ghost. So Raiki Jones, he will be start to focusing onto that left side. Not much as a defensive tool, but just going directly to the tower.
And JTV, he's going to be focused on the right side to make sure he gets 2 crowns to secure his victory, because for the time being, we're probably going to see an eventual 1 crown trade for both.
Raiki shouldn't really be focusing onto the left one anyhow, because the spells will just do the damage and take it out easily.
Okay, once again, we see this connecting here, but we see the Fireball now doing the damage, but it's not going to be destroyed. But the zap there to make sure the 2 of the Musketeers go down once again.
Collects once more.
Okay, so we're going to see the explosion here with the fire coming in for the Lava Hound, doing 717 onto the left tower. Gonna get 504 down to 303. Let's see, 1 hit. It doesn't come through for that Hog Rider.
But the balloon is the real problem for Raiki Jones. Hunter will not die to a Fireball.
Okay, so a balloon wasted there. Very well defended by the Hunter.
Did not have the Lava Hound in this case to block those bullets.
Okay, now this is important here. If Raiki Jones cannot get 1 hit onto any of these towers, that just might be. But with Fireball, does cancel exactly what I was saying.
But Fireball already used, the balloon will go directly to the tower. Raiki Jones cannot really stop that from happening at all.
Okay, but the second one will be coming through, but the balloon gets the first hit, and JTV gets that 1 second of a difference. We would kind of look at the Hog Rider the whole time, thinking that the left tower was going to go in a few hits.
Raiki Jones was waiting, basically because he knew there was a Fireball, and Fireball was the only one to actually take down the entire tower down with 200 plus HP left on the right side. And at that same moment, at the exact moment, he was waiting for that Fireball to be dropped, and had balloon dropping in right after.
It seems that Raiki Jones is not really stressed for now, but does enough to get a time out from this side. But we're going to see just a little bit of change from Pono Sports as a whole, because we saw JTV. Wasn't a dominating match, obviously, but it was very close. A game of inches being played by the 2 players. It eventually became to that 1 last drop coming from the balloon that did end the game. So it wasn't a total loss for Raiki Jones, but it still feels like he needs that timeout to make sure he's completely ready to go for the game 2.
That was very tough to actually cycle into it, because the Tombstone was basically a hard counter against the Hog Rider all the time. And we even saw Hog Rider and the Tombstone dropping at the same time, not really reading what's going to happen, but knowing the cycle, understanding what's got to happen right after. Was dropped from both sides, either side, just dropping those down, trading to get the maximum value. And over time, Balloon was the one that really had the trouble with. Hunter, of course, with the Lava Hound was a big problem. Without the Lava Hound, Hunter could have just taken out the Balloon, easily handling by just that little cost from Raiki Jones.
So that Raiki Jones had a hard time dealing with the balloons in particular, and that first rotation that came through, that went all in with the Lava Loon combo. He had very little answers for that. His first tower almost went down to nothing just from that 1 push.
It was tough, and he knew that he couldn't really defend perfectly, so he sent out the Royal Ghost to the other side to at least have not a bad of a trade. Worst trade, of course, but better than having no trades at all. Having some great pushes, but the real job was not done by the Hog Rider, mostly due to the spells right after, and most damage came in with the Royal Ghost, just ignoring the path of all the units and going straight to the tower.
Right. And we're gonna see, even after that timeout, the time does go up in a Swift. And right now, Chaos Theory probably will be looking for a redemption story with the second game. If it does go over to JTV's side, they're gonna get that first set over the Japanese team Pono Sport. Whereas Raiki Jones doesn't want to let that happen. He has to try to get this right to even so we can get into the third game here. Kind of summoning his frustration there towards his opponent. I mean, you gotta be angry when you almost basically won and you lost in a game of inches. That 1 second of a difference did cause that defeat for Raiki Jones. So JTV is not gonna be worried about this. He's just trying to get the win again. First team.
Is it going to be the same one? We do have the Lava Hound once again from JTB. Raiki Jones goes in with the charge. He wants to rush in. Tombstone once again.
So Battle Ram is gonna allow to make sure that Tombstone does go down. Lava Hound is still pushing on the right side though.
But gets a great amount of damage with the Spear Goblins and the Miner. Look at that damage.
Yeah, and it's still not gonna
continuing.
stop. Yeah, the tower was so focused on the Miner that Spear Goblin was just having a free time here.
Zap used to do some damage to the pups. But the balloon is coming directly. What does it have to defend?
Nothing?
Nothing.
Yes, nothing to defend. Raiki Jones is gonna lose the first tower here. Uh-oh. And he summons the Elixir Collector. He's just going to take one free drop, almost a free drop, onto the King's Tower, but he must have something big planned now.
That's his big plan, but was waiting for the Elixir to be collected.
Now the problem is, even with this summon of the Three Musketeers, now he probably won't have anything once the next balloon comes around for JTV.
So Raiki Jones putting everything to the right side. Even a zap cost, but the guards are so effective.
Look at this, and right now the two Musketeers are gonna do damage, and they're not gonna be stopped in their tracks. Gonna get the first tower on the right side while putting the left one at very low as well. So, see how long they can push here with these two Musketeers. That's gonna be the important question.
Shipped down to 1700, but do you still really go for that triple crown? I think it's going to be really hard. So goes in with the charge, going straight to the Tombstone once again.
I'm able to destroy that. Of course, the Lava Hound, you do see it on the left from JTV. Oh, he's going to go for the push all the way. The Mega Minion.
All the way with the Miner. The Lava Hound is so slow.
Okay. So going to get rid of the Mega Minion with that Fireball. Going to have no problem. You're going to see the Three Musketeers without that Fireball from JTV. Going to get free damage onto his enemy with that defensive strat.
He does have the Three Musketeers in this case, and Balloon does not secure a hit onto the tower, only getting that explosion damage.
You know what he did though, Raiki Jones? He summoned the minion horde to make sure he draws out and just nests out that Fireball, and he won't have it available for that. Obviously, a very defensive tool against the Three Musketeers. We know that's a very effective tool, but when you've already used it and have nothing to do, that Three Musketeers are going to have a hard time to make sure he gets destroyed.
That's what you got to do. But even when your frustrations comes in, as he showed at the beginning of the game, you have to keep it still, read what your opponent's cycle is, and draw out those spells. And oftentimes, baiting spell has been the winning card, and that's how you win a card. Of course, a worse trade for you having a 5 elixir cost compared to Fireball 4.
Yeah.
But still, if you have that spell down, then you can land all the three. Can take down the Lava Hound and the Balloon together.
And you know that Raiki Jones had 2 Elixir Collectors constantly pumping up the Elixirs to make sure you're able to go with that Three Musketeers at any time of the world. And we knew that after that Fireball was gone, that Three Musketeers, those 3 lovely ladies, were going to definitely get the job done, destroying 12 Elixirs of total with that Lava Hound and the Balloon doing nothing to the tower.
They look lovely, but they surely can put out that
damage.
Oh,
yes.
And that's why it's 9 elixir. I mean,
it costs the most.
It is the most, and that's why you also bring with the elixir collector as well. Has not been dealt with the Fireball, and Fireball oftentimes had to be used for many different sources. I think that was a real problem for Raiki Jones from JTB to what do I really target with the Fireball? I do have the spell, but which is the right timing to use it?
It's kind of a pity that he didn't bring something like the Arrow. Obviously, if he knew the minion horde was coming, Arrow is a super effective counter, getting a direct kill with a 2 elixir positive on your aspect. So now we're going to see JTV, if Raiki Jones does play that same deck once again, is he going to have an answer for those Elixir Collectors constantly giving him that extra energy to work with?
See, so far just Ice Golems, and do see an Elixir Collector being dropped by JTB so far.
Okay, a little bit of a copy of the deck we saw last time around. Oh, even the mini horde, just a page from the textbook here.
Gets a good dash to the towers directly. Battle Ram to trade that damage. JTB goes straight in, gets the dash and the damage.
But still very nicely done with that fireball. Once the barbarians are summoned away from the battle ram, he gets the fireball onto the barbarians and the minion horde.
But it's kind of like what we saw in game 2. JTB, of course, took a lot more damage, but he has the collector running in place.
Okay, literally taking the entire deck away from Raiki Jones and playing it against him now. How can these Musketeers be stopped here?
Dark Prince 4 now onto the left side, but the real problem is the miner onto the right.
Okay. Still look at this though. Did a little bit of damage, but the miner, as you say, is still doing chip damage one by one here.
Look how long this miner is lasting.
The miner can be quite tanky with its own rights. See that luring away with the bandit having no effect. Just knocking out the battle ram. So very much a mission accomplished there for JTB.
Still without the dash to the tower, we'll be happy with that bandit gone. Getting some damage to the tower.
Okay, even that barbarian, last one, doing so much damage there. So let's see that Infernal Dragon.
Just locking onto the other side though. Infernal Dragon, there's not a real good target to lock down with that laser.
Uh-oh, this is gonna be looking really bad here. Let's see the fireball, just knocking off 2 of the Musketeers, but just gonna get the Infernal Dragon out of there to make sure that damage does come all the way through.
Battle Ram onto the right side, JTB with the Elixir Collector getting so much value right now.
Minion Horde as well. There's nothing that can stop this right now because the fireball, we saw it already being used. How can they stop it here? We saw the miner on the right side. Gonna do enough just to get the damage done. It's about the left tower.
Only 25 seconds. Bandit trying to do what she can. Ice Golem delaying that attack once again. Dashes in. Secures some damage, but JTB still onto his own attack now.
Looking at this though, okay, we're gonna see the left tower. Oh, is it not gonna be gone though?
Does have the zap to just take it out, but
yeah,
the attack coming in from the other side. Miner still in works.
See the zap probably being played here. Not gonna even try for it, Raiki Jones. It feels like the game was over there. I understand what he was thinking because obviously getting the zap would get that 30-something HP and would get in that first tower, but guess he just didn't have the confidence to go on with that timeout to make sure that overtime does not go towards his favor.
Because his tower was down to, I believe,
600 or something like that.
100 or something like that. Very low compared to the other one.
It was almost full.
Almost full, basically. So overtime, you know, once your tower is destroyed, it ends right there. So he kind of knew, with all the charging cards from the other side, he kind of knew that he had no choice just to give up at that moment. I think that's what he chose.
It's kind of like that kind of case where we play our casual games and we're down to like, I don't know, like 30 HP on the other side. We can use a zap to get it over to the overtime when you know you can't really get anything done. Sometimes you click the whole button to get out of the game preemptively so you don't have to go through the stress, and maybe Raiki Jones was just getting ready for this game 3 that will decide it all.
Sometimes you just have to give up. You just kind of know your destiny in this kind of games.
Yeah.
And there are decks that can be hard countered. Goes the other way. So that's what happened at the last moment of that 1v1, but moving into the second one. 2v2 seems like he's having some trouble. Having the headset. You know those headsets sometimes like catches one of your hair?
Oh yeah, I know that.
When you try to take it away and
it just pulls it, but the hair doesn't pull out. It just keeps pulling it, but that doesn't
sometimes
get pulled
it grabs
out.
a bunch of your hair.
Oh no!
Oh, I know, it's the worst feeling.
It's quite a.
And I think that's exactly what we were having at that moment.
We're getting from a producer that he's having an earphone issue, so maybe it wasn't pulling out the hair, but it might be just a real audio issue that wants to get sorted here. Thank goodness it wasn't the hair issue, because that would have been worse than the audio issue.
Oh man, that
hurts. At least the audio issue doesn't hurt. The hair issue hurts.
Hurts a lot, and we're certainly not lying about that. This was the second game. Of course, Elixir Collector seems to be the way to go, as that became the key winning card in the back end. We saw lots of units being dropped down, but there's always the Collector behind that tower, just pumping up your Elixir all the time.
Absolutely interesting how that was played out. Literally, the winning decks was kind of traded between the games, and we saw Raiki Jones pull it out first and say, hey, you got nothing against this. And he won the game 2. Then he came back to game 3 and said, JTV brought out exactly the same deck he just lost to, and he said, you got nothing against this, don't you, Raiki Jones? And Raiki Jones literally had no answer and didn't even bother to go to overtime when he had the chance to.
Yeah, even JTB, I think he felt confident enough to actually have the same one. I think I can do better with the same one. Even if he keeps the same one, I'll just play better, and I'm pretty sure I have the confidence to win, and that's something what it takes. That's the gut sometimes that takes into the pro gaming, and then you come up on top, and that's how he was able to win. But we're still going to some delay. But
let's look at the situation here, G-Clef. We're looking at this situation of possibly Southeast Asia might get the first win on the board on the first day of competition between them and Japan.
that is certainly right. And here we see Fuchi, of course, not the best end result with the 1v1. But in terms of the 2v2, has a pretty good understanding. And on the other side, Mikan does have the opposite of the result.
See Mikan Booya, and he has been highly praised by one of our Korean commentators, with Jun, a former professional player in the Clash Royale scene in Korea, has given high praise towards Mikan Booya possibly being the best Japanese player. Of course, I had a whole hour argument, just arguing against him that Shun was the best player in Japan.
Yes, you would have an argument against Jun. Of course, he used to be a great player, but on to the other side, Chaos Theory, and even with Yugi Art, who has came up only once, and I thought that he was one of the secret cards, like the hidden player to play later on when there's an important, very very important match, but he failed big time.
Yep,
And
played
it was
once, and he lost 2 times in a row.
And those 2 games were pretty dominant, of course, from the other side. Very dominant in fashion, I would say. So maybe as a 2v2, he may show some better understanding and the timings of the cards.
Very well could be. Of course, communication is important in these factors, and I'm sure this team has had the communication going. Of course, Yugi are originally out of United States, from New York.
Yes.
And going to be joining in with the Southeast Asian team, so I wonder that language barrier is going to be there for the 2v2 occasion. Okay, it seems like they're still having a hard time with that headset issue. Hope it's not a hair issue. That's all we're hoping for.
That is the worst. That is the worst that can happen at the moment. But
look at Yugi, he might have a hair issue.
let's see. He's about to put his headsets on right now.
If I had that kind of hair and put my headset on, I'd be pulling hair all day. Yugi are still just seemingly just excited about all the things here. Just playing in these tournaments and playing against Japan. See what they can make out of it. So we see the game looking like it's almost underway. Just getting onto things to make sure we're ready to go. You can see the ban card being the Tornado, very much expected. Top priority, top priority in 2v2.
Sometimes you just have... this is kind of funny. Sometimes you just expect the opponent team to ban that Tornado card and you try to snipe on something else. But oftentimes this is the case, and we did see some crazy matches with Tornado being unable to play because of the bans. Just thinking that the opponent team will ban, but did not happen sometimes, and woo, the Tornadoes were pretty effective, yes.
When both teams think the same thing of that, the other team's not gonna have Tornado ban. The other team's gonna, just make sure the Tornado's gone. We don't have to ban the
But
Tornado.
do we want to risk that at all? That's the real thing.
And that's what happened a couple occasions where Tornado wasn't banned at all because both teams were thinking in that same line of thinking. And you saw that Tornado is still, yes, very highly effective in 2v2 matches when you want to have all the units in the radius to make sure it becomes no longer effective. But when we do see the Tornado being banned, it becomes a little bit close to tournament normality.
Certainly true, and we did see lots of Lava Hound and Double Golems in match number 1. May just continue this one out. When Tornado was available, lots of times from Southeast Asia, we did see lots of Giant Skeleton as a defensive tool to bring everything together to land on that explosion damage, the death bomb damage, which was insane even with the clone spell sometimes.
Yeah. Everything we've seen on 2v2 has been quite hectic. It really was about the minimal amount of differences when it comes to the chip damage being the main factor in 2v2. It's been mostly about heavy rushes, who gets the better of it, and that's when usually the winner is decided.
We'll see, as after the ban, they will have some time to go with their best practiced one. So far, we're not really seeing any new strategies in 2v2. Similar ones, lots of golems, sometimes a battle ram with charging ones, which has been less effective compared to the golem. Because oftentimes the heavy pushes are the way to go, and if that's not defended from the other side, you can actually go straight to that king tower, and it will get destroyed. I mean, destroyed until the late game, and that's why the double golem has been super dominant in this case.
Definitely have seen that, and kind of the only new thing we've seen in 2v2 was probably the giant skeleton for defensive uses. See, when does that dash damage comes on, it's sometimes a little more effective than Tornado because it just blows up everything in the radius. You know, it can do more than about 1,000 damage if it does get blown up in that area, and that does not exclude the tower damage as well. So if you can just bring that giant skeleton very close to your opponent tower, we've seen it done great damage, kind of in unexpected moments.
Certainly possible. And we want to point out that even with the golem, we do see lots of different combinations. We did have the flying machine before. Of course, Inferno Dragon is basically locked in most of the time. But if you try to have a great counter, your own push, because golem push is actually very slow, throw in lots of miners, and just have Inferno Dragon as a defensive tool. And maybe just a P.E.K.K.A. to defend, not to really go in as an offensive way. And just throwing down the miner, we did see that play coming out from lots of Korean teams last weekend.
Something I kind of want to see now that you mentioned the P.E.K.K.A. and the Infernal Dragons, that what if in 2v2 matches those two cards were banned? The main counters to any golem rush, we have to say,
just a Infernal Dragon ban would be interesting enough, I think.
And the P.E.K.K.A. Think about that. Just think about what that could mean into golem rushes on both sides. How do you stop it?
Tornado.
There you go. Oh, yeah, we forgot that Tornado. we forget about Tornado being used so often.
If the other two are banned, then Tornado will be available.
Okay.
That's why we're seeing Tornado bans all over all the time.
You are definitely right, G-Clef. That is the reason why we never get to see Tornadoes in 2v2, because they're so good in the defensive uses. I think the game's almost ready to go. See, just make sure you're getting the checkups to make sure that both teams are ready and all the consoles are ready for play as well.
And all the hairs, all the hair from all four players are good to go.
Especially Yu-Gi-Oh!
Especially Yu-Gi-Oh! Certainly, right?
Definitely smiling, so seems to have no problems there.
It's mostly we do have some delay sometimes for 2v2 because of the communication issue. We do need that perfectly in a fair environment for both teams.
Okay, so I think we might just take a little bit of a moment to make sure we're ready to go in this game. I think, especially with Chaos Theory pulling out that win over Pawn Sports in that first set with 1v1. If they can do it in 2v2, we might just see kind of an earlier upset of the Japanese regions, because we saw that Korea didn't even find their first win until the 7th entire series.
Yes, they lost first 2 days straight. Was down 0-6. The
0-6?
final day, only 2 matches remaining, and I saw lots of community posts and the comments from the Korean side. Whoa, not the things I can say on broadcast.
You know, the Koreans take their pride in making sure their professional players are the best in the world. But if you can't beat Japan, and if you can't even beat them until the very last day of competition, it does bring a lot of disappointment to the fans, obviously. But that's why you want to perform better every time you get on the stage. And definitely the Korean players haven't really performed as equally as the Japanese players, who are just exceptional in everything they did.
I think it's a very good testing for them as well. Of course, it's competitive and the results matter. It stacks up all the time, but it's only still in the first half. Week number 4, of course, going into week 5. If they record all wins starting from that point on, maybe they can still climb up to the top. Of course, we do have the postseason, so it matters a lot later on more. So as long as you keep in race, if you make it into the top few, that's the most important part. And once you come back, if you do like some crazy mechanics, if you come up with a crazy great strategy and improve your teamwork, that's how you get better in 1v1 and 2v2.
And seeing what that means, though, you know, as the weeks go by, are we going to get the same story that perhaps Japan is still the best and the other two are now fighting for that second place spot in terms of how they rank up in the terms of strength? But so far, we're getting an indication that Korea and Southeast Asia, it's a little bit more difficult to tell apart for the time being. Can't really see whether Southeast Asia is still stronger than Korea or whether Korea is stronger than Southeast Asia. It's just kind of hard to tell unless we get a clear indication as the weeks go by. But I think we're finally getting ready to go. Gonna get ready to go in this 2v2 match between these two teams with Pono Sports on the bottom on the blue side with Chaos Theory for Southeast Asia on the top on the red.
Finally ready, bats. Very weak, of course. Against the tower will get taken away easily, but great against the Inferno Dragon. That's why we see lots of bats dropping down.
Something else that's good against the Inferno Dragon is going to be that Mega Minion. Make sure it's going to be chipped down to none. When we see the Poison coming through.
Poison getting some good value there.
Yeah.
Inferno Dragon does lock on to the golem from Ponos.
The Pono Sports having a good time with their rush so far. The Prince doing a lot of work to make sure they bring their units forward. The Electro Wizard just being killed off right there. Just prompting the guards to allow the Prince to have no damage potential.
Ooh, that was so close.
It's a very clean defense coming from Pono Sports right there.
Spear from the Prince actually has some range, so even if it doesn't directly touch all the way to the tower, it will land on a hit. But that was as close as it got to the tower there.
There we go. We're going to see the double golems. One on each side being summoned for both teams. We're going to see the tombstone only to the right side. So, very interesting the way that what the intention of that is.
But still, we'll get the good drag from the golem. They also have the dragon available anyhow, so great way of defense there. Prince will get the last bit of damage onto the bottom. And neither side really landing on any damage here.
Yeah, we're going to see the Poison doing most of the damage there and doing nothing else. The guards trying to stop the Infernal Dragon from going in any further.
So far, very effective. Now Chaos Theory goes to the other lane instead, as their tower is somewhat a lot more damaged compared to Ponos.
It's really prompting Pono Sports to have at least a little bit of defense on the right side.
Saying, please notice us, we're going to attack onto the other side.
Oh, the Golem has the soak up damage right there. You see only the Golem moving through with the double Prince. It's going to be wiped away here. That could really lead to Pono Sport getting that first tower very early in this instance.
Of course, a lot better trade for Ponos here, as Chaos also dropped that Rage Potion to speed it up, but not getting the full value.
First tower now from Ikambuya and Fuji for Pono Sports. 8 seconds, all they have left. 500 damage. Can they get it done? But it's just so busy on defense. I don't think they're going to do it. We're going to see Pono Sport pick out the first one in the 2v2.
The ways to come back with the Golem, as they got better trades with their Prince pushing in instead. Dark Prince not as effective, and they got a great start with the Poison spell. That has been the most worth spell I've ever seen. With the Poison, you're landing onto 3 units, taking down the Tombstone as well as damaging the Golems right after.
See the preparation getting into the second game here, as we saw Pono Sport finding back to their cause to make sure Japan stays strong above all the rest of the competition.
I think it was also Chaos Theory having a little bit of indecisiveness as where they wanted to go and why exactly. Even with that Rage dropped right near at the same time when the Golem was spawned by Ponos.
Yeah.
Got a good drag onto the Princes. Only the Golem was doing the damage to the tower. Of course, with the Prince, was going to be easy tower and maybe all the way to the King, but with the Golem from Ponos getting all the drag to the other side was just enough for his defense to keep your own tower. And they were having their own push onto the left side with their Golem, so with their first Golem already pushing into across the bridge.
A defensive Golem taking away 9 elixir worth of defense there as both Princes were able to be attracted away from their primary target of trying to go for the opponent tower, but was kind of lured away into the Golem instead. But that did end up with Chaos Theory not getting any tower in exchange for Opponent Sports getting that one tower, which was crucial in getting them win. Gonna get on to game 2 here. Fuchi and Mikambuya, after winning that first one, gonna try to make it to 2-0. Absolute sweep in this 2v2 to get them back in the series. That would get them into the ace match. They're at the bottom, summoning the tomb still. Chaos Theory still at the top. Red.
Just bring down the miner. Get that tombstone down. As they're looking to push their own golem one, very likely.
Just see mostly about rotations here, just cycling their decks. As again, just summon this golem as they do now. See the P.E.K.K.A now on the top side. So they do have double counter duties with the Infernal Dragon and the P.E.K.K.A. Just getting ready for that golem to make its way forth.
Skeleton Barrel tried to delay the push. Oh, even the rage dropping right on top.
Can't really tell if that was a good rage use or not, because I think the golems are going to have a hard time even making it to the tower.
They wanted to push a little bit more. I think they didn't get the full value, but Prince does not get a charge, so it'll be about even. I think it was mostly because the Infernal Dragon did not lock into the target that they wanted to.
Yeah.
So wanted to rage and speed it up so he can lock onto the next one right after.
Good prediction coming in from Opponent Sports to make sure that miner does no damage onto the tower. Still looking at it here, what that means for these two games. So the golem push being attempted by Opponent Sport. That did not really work out in that first attempt. We'll see how the second attempt goes.
They have lots of bats. Get taken out easily by the Ice Spirit.
Yeah. Double golem here for Opponent Sport. This time they're going to all in, hoping to make this case count.
Infernal Dragon actually spawned quite early. And there's an Electro Wizard getting that cancelled all the time.
They do have a second Infernal Dragon. Make sure they are ready to knock down the golems piece by piece.
Another Infernal Dragon locks on both locks onto the golem. Golemite's not really going straight to the tower. P.E.K.K.A doing most of the damage here as well.
Yeah, absolute complete defense from Chaos Theory. As they trying to just make this count to keep this run going.
Chaos Theory, they're actually making a better push with some of the minor hits, and Poison actually doing most of their push damage.
There you go. And we're going to see this Infernal Dragon is going to go down. But what are we going to see mostly? These two teams, we see the golem being summoned again. Opponent Sports.
How do you actually? How do you want to change your push as Opponent Sports here? They had double golem last time, but lots of the Infernal Dragon has been the answer.
Still looking at this though, see what this means. As we do see the push still being attempted by Opponent Sports, and it's mostly been about Chaos Theory defending and just relying on the chip damage.
Look how many poisons there are. Two coming out from Opponent Sports, making sure that your units actually get some damage done.
And look at 1326 on the top and 1520 on the bottom.
It's still certainly not enough, even a fireball from Chaos Theory. But that's why the guards has been so much more effective compared to the Goblin Gang. With the shield gun, you can survive a very powerful spell for all three of them.
See the P.E.K.K.A and the Infernal Dragon being summoned again by Chaos Theory. Trying to go up against these double golems being summoned again by Opponent Sports. We have 2 minutes left until a potential tie. If no tower goes down during this overtime.
Of course, we will have a draw, but in this case, Poison does lock in. P.E.K.K.A soaking in some damage, but the Electro Wizard is the main problem.
Yeah, they really don't have a direct answer for that Electro Wizard. We're talking about usually the spells like that would do the job, but the Electro Wizard is still alive to live another day.
This Prince gets a lock, but will actually not do damage to the Dark Prince. Comes right on time.
Yeah, so it was just available to make sure it did little damage. And it's gonna get still chip it down to 785.
Both teams not really making any mistakes, but this one they want to speed this up with the rage right now. Go all the way in.
Yeah, this might be the do or die here, as we do see the double golem still relatively healthy. What they can do here.
Just locked onto the golem, will get separated, but down to all the damage. Poison's doing so much damage. Still, they have a minute And that's going to be the final blow on that tower.
So it almost could have been a tie in that instance, but we do see Mikimboya and Fuchi bringing it right back now into 1-1. And we have one more game of 2v2 decide the winner. We saw just a back and forth action. It's been mostly about the attacks coming in from, obviously from Mikimboya and Fuchi. For the side of Pono Sports, but it's been mostly about Chaos Theory doing the defensive strats to make sure they're always defending, trying to get the chip damage with the miner. But every time the miner was summoned, it seemed like Pono Sport knew exactly where that was going to be and had the guards ready to go.
Yes, guards always was the biggest problem, and compared to how much damage that they could actually do, Ponos, they had double the poison when I believe Chaos Theory, they did not have the double poison, only one poison and a fireball instead, which was not the best tool for them to defend because there were lots of shields from Ponos that could be worn off. But right after the shield, they are still very strong, healthy. They will go directly to the tower, and not the best spell to go against the golem either. So they were in lots of trouble. I think with the double poison could have been at least a draw in this case.
And that will be them trying to fight back into this case and trying to show that we're still very much in this. That 1v1 did go over to Chaos Theory originally here, but 2v2. We see Chaos Theory bringing it up here again then. Just might very well see this team of Chaos Theory picking up the first win on the board against the Japanese teams on this very first day.
Yeah, it is still possible. It is still possible for them to may have a massive comeback, and soon we will have the player to go all the way out. I think this has been possibly their best match so far.
Yeah.
Of course, then against the Japanese team, so it's a very tough one, I would say, against the region. And of course, they're at home. They will be comfortable after playing a few more weeks compared to the Japanese team. They have been there away from their main homeland, playing in an unfamiliar environment for the first day. But still, they have been coming on top. It only takes you to focus on your own device and playing as normal.
And starting from Sandbox from Korea last week, pulling off the only win against the Japanese team. We might just get the less expected team out of Southeast Asia. Chaos Theory wasn't the highest team in our prospects when it came to our list of the most expectation towards a single team was obviously towards Brand Esports, and everybody else seemingly a few grades below they were. So if we see Chaos Theory pick up a win here against Pono Sport, that just might be another surprise coming, and when we didn't really expect it from them.
Even with that, I was pretty amazed by Yugi Artaz, who did not really have a great performance, a very disappointing one, to be honest. And in the 1v1, but in terms of this 2v2, I feel like the teamwork was there, lots of practice, coordination, and the cards were oftentimes landing on the perfect placement. So I think that's why they were also able to hold on for that long of a time in that game, not really making any mistakes, just having some counters against the other team.
It's been mostly about Chaos Theory just doing the defensive strats to making sure their opponents cannot get the free tower with that golem rush every single time, but they didn't really have a big offensive tool on their side to make sure they did the same amount of damage to their opponents. The miner was probably the only reliance there, but really didn't come through as a true offensive tool that couldn't get them the victory.
Now with that, we'll have the ace match. Let's see.
Okay, so we're looking at it here. So you see Trainer Dexter's. After we see that here, the ace match. I'm going to see how they do because see the Lava Hound.
He's played in lots of 2v2s, and even on this, he only played in one set of 1v1, so we can't really remember. I can't really remember too much. He banned out 3 Musketeers, so maybe that's something else that we're gonna have here.
Mikimboya, the player chosen for this very last set. Let's see Pono Sports. See how he does. Of course, he did well to bring out the win in that 2v2.
Maybe after the results of this ace match, maybe Jun will have a lot more to say with you, Joel.
There you go. He has another argumentative point. Got a good argument point from my side. Shun just popping off once again, just making his opponents look really, really bad. So that argument will go on forever, obviously. Going after weeks and weeks, we'll get to see who the better player is. But like I said, 2 players already very, very impressive.
Ben?
Okay, come on. That's just not a ban.
No, it's just saying that what has been just climbing onto the ladder right now, the most trending one in the ladder, has been the Royal Ghost and the Hawk Rider from China, close to the region of China.
Okay.
So anywhere around Asia right now, picking up that deck a lot, and Hunter seems to be the key card, especially as a defensive tool.
Wow.
But that's a very unexpected one, I would say.
I almost called that a throwaway banner. I mean, you talked about Hunter? It's barely even seen. Even if it's always, you know, being free to use, we don't even see it used hardly ever. And Hunter ban, something that probably I haven't expected, even if you gave me multiple tries to guess the next ban coming in from Chaos Theory.
And a Lava Hound from Pono Sports. We could be against the Lava Hound, maybe thinking his own. A Golem Push once again. That's his most played, but oftentimes for 2v2 as well.
To see the Lava Hound composition. It's not going to be the Lava Loon that Mikambuya likes to play.
He actually throws in the Lava Hound and does the most damage with the Poison and the Miner. He likes chip damage overall.
Yeah.
But trying to bait the spells out with the Lava Hound most likely.
Right. And we've seen that before. And looking at Trainer Dexter's here, see, he likes to play the Golem deck. Of course, this could apply to the 2v2 aspects of things, but still 1v1. We've seen the Golems being played quite efficiently to do well. And Trainer Dexter, I think he really is relying on this now to make sure his team is ready to go, perhaps pick up that first victory of the night.
Dexter's, he had the Lava Hound banned against him last time and had a loss with 1-2. That may be showing him that he actually likes to play Lava Hound. Players having more information. There are a few players, at least from some regions, liking to play that Lava Hound instead. It seems like that's getting sniped against this player all the time.
Yeah. So we're discussing this to make sure the players are ready to go and the players can help out with each other between their allies to make sure the deck they're forming for this very last set here with this ace match can be quite decisive. Make sure they bring home the goods. Make sure they put up that big W on the board. And as I guess we said before, it would be a big surprise to see a win for Southeast Asia on the very first day against Japan.
Certainly true. And Hunter Ban's still being effective. I think compared to how much practice you can actually have, how ready you are against the deck that you've seen before. If something else comes up that you have never experienced, and in the midst of time where you try to adapt and adjust your defensive tools, you may actually have a tower down already. So I think that's why he was trying to snipe that card, just in case something else comes up that he has no idea about. And it seems like one of the newer decks that are coming up right now in the ladder seems to have lots of hunters actually. So I think that is the reason why that ban is available right now.
You know, if we see Hunter meta back again in the competitive meta of things to kind of lure out more of these Hunter bans, I think that'd be an interesting time in Clash Royale. Of course, it wasn't really a big part of Clash Royale, especially in the competitive scene. Always those niche picks that, you know, a couple of players bring time after time, but mostly it's about something you don't expect out of a kind of a truly irregular deck.
They're certainly right, Joel, as we are getting ready to get that 1v1. That's not much of an issue, as you don't need to talk to your teammate. Just have to hear all those sounds where the units pop up. And buildings being dropped down. We are ready for that 1v1.
That game. See, the number one of this ace match will be right underway. Ikambuya on the left here. Down at the bottom once again in that blue side. We're going to begin the match between these two sides, Mono Sports and Chaos Theory. One more set to decide it all.
And we'll see how Ikambuya comes on top of this. Lots of minor use. And along with the Inferno Dragon, even without the 2v2s.
Seeing it early, Dark Prince Summon. Going to be easily soaking up the damage. See with that Ice Golem. And see the Collector being there. The Fireball. And minimizing its use there.
Instant response, as Ikambuya also wanted to cycle that spell as well. Even dropping down the log.
Bandit. How's it going to be stopped here? Let's see the zap knocking off the spear goblins. It's not gonna knock away the front goblins as well, but mostly it's been about a good defensive strat. That has worked out this time around, but you see the ice golem. Maybe it was in preparation for the prince just in case.
Good trade from both sides, but what are they holding in right now? That's the main question. Should be holding the 3. Mikabuya should be holding the 3 other card that has not been shown. There's a giant. It is going to be the Dark Prince push with the giant.
See it getting just frozen up right there.
Where goes with the Elixir Collector?
Okay. Right now, we're gonna see just the bandit trying to be the defense strat against the giant. That was a good enough job for the time being. But the Elixir Collector, like I said, G-Clef, they're still at work for Trinity Dexters. Second one now. Okay, so that log cycling here. Kind of just imagine what he has in stock for Mikenbuya. See what he does here. So 3 Musketeer was the answer for Trinity Dexters of why he was investing so much into those collectors. Okay, he's gonna go heavy on the right side here.
Mikenbuya with the log will get some value. With the fireball nicely done to the ice column. As well as the units right behind it. But he wants to make his own push to the left side. That's what the giant is for here, as slowly going towards it.
Okay, we're gonna see the 3 Musketeers again. Really easy to defend out against all things here, and even the Ice Spirit making sure none of the Musketeers get damaged by the Prince.
Even with the big nerf from the ice golem, Ice Spirit will still in a great work to do some damage. Prince to take out all the back units right behind the golem as well.
See Electro Wizard, can he be stopped here? Dark Prince, will be right here.
Dexter does not have any collector to back this up with. Will take a good amount of hit from either side.
11:59 here. Consistently drop that slowly by bit, chipping it away down to 1075 now. Musketeers once again for defensive strat.
Without the Elixir Collector this time, so will have a hard time defending the push from the left side. Doesn't really care about the right too much. Expecting a Goblin King to being dropped. A log being attempted, but not going to be predicted as well.
Uh-oh, the Prince gonna get the attack in. That's gonna be the last one going through, and Mikenbuya, in the end, just really not worrying about the Elixir Collector too much. Does stay patient and works on the Elixir that he did have. Not really extra needed for that win right there.
Fireball to basically defend. A great push to the right side. Look how calm he feels, of course. Enjoying his first win of the ace match here, as it still goes out to a long day. We do have the timeout from Chaos Theory, because that one was pretty dominant, I would say. Even with the collectors all the way on the back, the double one, he used all that in a defensive way, and that was gone right after.
We saw that the Elixir Collector is being invested so heavily by the side of Chaos Theory. Just kind of meant that something heavy was going to come out in the end. In the end, that was the 3 Musketeers. Thinking that was the answer to get all the tower rush into play, but of course that wasn't the best use of the Elixir Collector when definitely Mikenbuya exactly knew how to handle those Musketeers as a whole. You saw the Fireball being used as a defense strat, as you mentioned earlier, G-Clef, to make sure those become nullified in a heartbeat.
And great read on how much elixir that the opponent had. He basically knew after the collectors were gone, if I make this great push again with the giant with the double Prince, I think I could just go all the way in. Even if I have the spells to actually finish it off. And Prince was close to it, getting down to the two digit. He even had the fireball to finish it anyhow with the overtime. So with another fireball was going to go down to very close anyhow from the 500. And Mikenbuya just had that game entirely controlled, even with the 3 Musketeers. It looks very, very strong, even when it splits up to either side. Sometimes it's really hard to defend it, of course, but when you have everything in control, when you also make your own push towards the single Musketeer that comes out from 3, that's how you usually want to do it. Maybe Dexter should have changed the other way and force force the 2 to be as a defending one and send 1 as an offensive tool.
So went very aggressive with that summon there. You put 2 on the side that you're not defending.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get as much free damage, but we know that 1 fireball can do just as many to 2 musketeers when you can compare it to a 1. So that means that he invested quite heavily into one side, but did not pay off, and in the end did lose out in that game 1. I'm sure Trainer Dexters will be looking to fire back as the game 2 will be very much underway. See if the Southeast Asian side with Chaos 3 can fight back here, because, like I said, they still have all that it takes to make sure they get the first W on the board for the region.
Yep. Bonus Sports, of course, with the first game 1 for themselves. They're on the match point.
You can see Mick Booyah after that win in set 3, trying to do it again here against Trader Dexters. Gonna be down at bottom once again. There's Spear Goblins being summoned down here, just countered by the Goblin Gang as well.
A barrel.
Okay, so we haven't seen that in quite a while.
Certainly true. Some damage, and Goblin Gang onto the side of Traders,
Oh, even a
Dexters as well.
Princess. Does no damage whatsoever.
Well, gets the job. That's the job doing the Goblin, but Princess very, very weak in terms of HP. But
Yeah,
gets the job done. Does some damage, lots of area damage.
Get the job done here. You can see the Infernal Dragon though. Gonna get the job completely done here. Dark Prince just trying to match up the damage. Maybe that going down.
Trying to keep this Infernal Dragon and Zap used right before the barrel. But Goblin Gang basically cancels that as well. Does some damage down to 2196.
Definitely had the Zap ready for the Spear Goblins coming in, and had obviously the Goblin Gang just ready for that defense against Goblin Barrel that came through.
Notice how be a good eye on Mikambuya, how he uses his units to actually draw out all the spells and then throw a barrel.
Yeah.
Or the other way.
That's something we commonly see in our casual games where, you know, people just expect that you use a log, then you don't have anything else, and like they just throw just Goblin Barrel out, and you just really don't have anything to defend against, though.
It's the one right after how you change your pattern.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it gets figured out right after.
Here it is once again. The Fireball. It's not going to be the best use of the Fireball, as they could have got all of it in that instance, but did not predict it correctly, but still gets 502
Still
in the
gets
end.
a good amount of damage,
And
just with the Spear Goblins.
Doing so much work, though. Look at that.
Against the Goblins, Bats, Spear Goblins, I mean, Princess will be very effective. Even from the other side, will go. Look at that range, it's huge.
Just means the Bats will be able to not just wipe away the annoyance coming in.
Oh, look at that P.E.K.K.A. and Mikambuya find himself quite surprised.
Okay, Trainer Dexters has to be careful that he can get the P.E.K.K.A. in, but he has to worry about his left tower as well. And we're going to see Mikambuya most likely get this first tower. Going to have no problem with that. And the P.E.K.K.A.'s gone for the Infernal Dragon.
He has lots of tools. He has lots of Goblin. Even he can throw down the barrel to actually delay that P.E.K.K.A. as well.
10 seconds. And another Infernal Dragon just ready to go.
But not going to be in time. Even the Tornado to delay, and that's going to be game. And the match secure for Ponos Esports.
Really much a domination from Mikambuya. You know, we talked about commentator June making his statements about Mikambuya being one of the best players in Japan. Definitely has to agree with him now, and seems like he's one of the top ones out there. Just putting the numbers on his opponent with Trainer Dexter, not really seemingly have an answer for the 2 games that he has played.
He seemed very confident even in that final game, and I looked at his face when he was surprised by that P.E.K.K.A. He was almost very surprised to see that P.E.K.K.A. But I think he was surprised because he had so many counters against it. You're willing to play this card when I have so many counters against it? I mean, and he used the Goblins right after, Ice Golem to drag right after. P.E.K.K.A. not even having higher than 10% of going all the way to the tower, I would say.
He was basically just cycling his decks to make sure that P.E.K.K.A. was lured away, so that he doesn't look at the tower, obviously. Then he had another Infernal Dragon just ready to go, just wipe out the P.E.K.K.A. in an instant. Of course, he had just used the Infernal Dragon when that P.E.K.K.A. was summoned, so understandably, Trainer Dexter's had a point in why he summoned that P.E.K.K.A. at that instance, because obviously the biggest counter that can come of P.E.K.K.A. that does come with the Infernal Dragon. So that was summoned on the left side. So he thought that maybe summoning the P.E.K.K.A on the right side, oh, he might not have any counters for this now, and I can just destroy it all at once. But you know, it doesn't matter if you don't have it anymore. Just cycle your deck again until you have the Infernal Dragon. And we saw Miken Booyah very cool and calm about how he rotated that one.
Yeah, certainly correct. As he also had the Fireball after all the predictions came true, because Goblin Gangs were coming in right after the barrel, right on top of the tower. Just throwing that Fireball right after. That's all the adjustment he needed. And of course, Fireball, a little bit of an overuse for that Goblin Gang. But still, if your barrel's doing tons of damage and that's your key card, use it right after, and that's how you win games.
And I think it was a little bit disappointing from Dexter's perspective that he only had one answer to the Goblin Barrel, which was the Goblin Gang, and he really didn't have any other answers. And once Miken Booyah found that out, he just literally threw a Fireball right after the Goblin Barrel, and you knew that the exact same placement of a summon is not going to work every time.
We are jumping into the interview. We'll have the translations for you guys.
So congratulations. So how's your feeling about winning on this game?
まず海外戦ということでいつもと環境が違う中でいつも通りのプレーというのはなかなか難しいんですけども、なんとか勝つことができてとりあえず安心しました。
因为是第一次海外的比赛，
So
环境
this
上也
is
有些不一样，有点不太习惯的地方。
my first overseas game, so I wasn't very comfortable with playing, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
3回戦目はどうして三河さんを決めたんですか？
チームメンバーがもう僕に行けとのことで頑張ります。
我受到了很多成员的期望，所以就
So I've got cheered by my teammates, so yeah, I was quite confident.
第二场突然换了一个飞桶，是建立在怎么样的博弈上面？突然选这个飞桶。
So at 2v2 you have chosen a quite different deck. So I would like to ask why was that?
自分たちのパワーでゴリ押すというスタイルでいきました。
他们希望是两个人可以得到一个就是合力的一个最佳状态。
So we have hope that the two players will have better communication and better teamwork.
这个季赛已经打到一半了，那你们觉得说现在有哪一支队伍是你们最头号的一个敌人？
So which team do you think is your most competitive team? So I think it's Brand Esports.
居然是我们这个东南亚的一个队伍。好，那我们就恭喜 Proton Sports 拿下这场比赛胜利。
So once again, congratulations.
ありがとうございます。
好，那我们就稍微休息一下，等等再回来下一场的比赛。
So that was Pono Sports, especially with the Miken Booyah, the captain for that team, showing that Brand Esports still is a top contender in Southeast Asia. So even if they have beat out Chaos Theory on the day, they still haven't beat the region as a whole. They have to go through Brand Esports, and that's what we're waiting for. We're still going to find out whether that's the case, whether Brand Esports is up to the hype, because we're going to see them in the next series.
We're seeing that 1v1 player. We're seeing few of the stars rising up from all the regions. We'll have to continue, of course. Only first day in of week 4.
We're
But
gonna
we still have one more match.
There you go. We're going to get another short break, and when we're back, we're going to be getting back to the final series to see how Brand Esports can compare against the Japanese teams. Welcome back, guys, to Clash Royale League Asia as we're getting ready to go into the last series of the day as we continue the action between Southeast Asia and Japan. So far, though it has been a lot closer, it still has not really gone towards the Southeast Asian side in terms of getting the wins.
But not yet. We do have Brand Esports for our last match of the day, and I think not just myself, including lots of people, lots of fans, predict them to actually win against one of the weaker Japanese team, Valve Gaming. So maybe coming in true, but so far Japanese has been dominant over in Asia against the Korean team as well last weekend. So far, 2 matches has been going towards the Japan side. Can Brand Esports stop this dominance in the region? I think it's very possible.
It really can be, and we're kind of seeing the trend here of Japan still looking way stronger than their opponents, but now we just compare between them, the Southeast Asian teams that are going up against Japan right now, the teams that are going up against from Korea. And we've seen these two teams, when they compare, we can't really say right now that Southeast Asian teams have put up a better fight. But at the same time, it's not really a weaker fight as well. So we're going on to this third match here to really decide whether Japan is just truly stronger than everybody else. We're going to get the last test of that with 5 Gaming and Brand Esports.
And from 5 Gaming, we actually have a new player.
Yep.
It says
Dine.
It says Dine over there, but on our sheet it says Dani.
Dani.
We'll get to find out which one's the real one very soon.
Okay. Does have a new player, like you said. It's going to be Dani, as confirmed by our producers. And so that's our new player, our further side of 5 Gaming. Born in 1998, still a youngster, trying to get into the scene.
Ooh, favorite Lava Hound. We'll have to see about that. And also a new player onto Brand Esports as well.
Chief Glenn. It's a lot older in age, 1991. So that's really old for typical esports athlete in general, but for more for Clash Royale, and we're looking at this, December 23rd, 1991 for Chief Glenn, and kind of a late bloomer.
Oh, and you know who's gone from the team? Noam Sai.
Oh, wow.
Who was supposed to be the best one for 1v1 here.
He was actually the captain as well.
He was the youngest as well.
Okay.
So we don't exactly know the reason behind it, but still we are going to have the new roster for tonight. Maybe this is going to be a permanent change, maybe not.
Okay, we are looking at Brand Esports. As you do mention G-Cliff, without Noam Sai, who we thought was the best performer in that team, in addition to Jai. They have Jai still in this team, but without Noam Sai, we might just be able to expect a different Brand Esports one way or the other.
I thought it was first when I saw the roster. Well, of course, we have it in our data sheet before the casting starts. We thought it was an addition, not an exchange of not exchange student. Of course, that's got into my mind. Of course, it would.
That was your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, a little bit, not really close, but still, I thought it was going to be new player addition coming into the team, but having a different roster actually from both teams, kind of surprising right now.
Chief Glenn instead of Noam Sai, what does that mean towards Brand Esports when we thought that Noam Sai kind of held the team together and as that leadership role and kind of spoke out for the team, and the communication was there centric to what he was trying to do for the team, and we definitely saw that through the interviews and also through the plays when he participated in most of the 2v2s. And right now, seeing him without this team here, Brand Esports, what does this mean for this team, as we thought they were the best team for this entire region of Southeast Asia, going undefeated in their records against the regionals, but now we're going to see them against 5 Gaming without Noam Sai. We're going to see what that really means towards the indication.
That is certainly a big difference that we didn't really count on when we talked about how strong Brand Esports was coming into match number 3. And we do have the 1v1 locked in. Kenzumeshi from Valve Gaming and Jai coming in strong for this 1v1. Look at that record, 4-1, 4-1, 1v1, and 2v2.
Only dropped 1 game from each. And Jai, he can play everything. He can play the 1v1s, he can play the 2v2s just as well. And like we say, him in addition to Noam Sai, I think have been the 2 of the strongest players for this team. And the basically the strongest players in all of Southeast Asia. And what does that mean? You know, we keep asking that question. We're gonna find out slowly as to what that could mean for this team here. But we're gonna see the bans coming through. Giant ban once again. Once again, we thought it was a lot less common, but we're starting to see a little bit more of that now with Jai's Tornado ban as well.
And the giant ban from Kenzumeshi is continuing. We're seeing some giant bans continuing to happen tonight, especially from the Japanese players. Giant ban just meaning maybe some structure which we have not seen anywhere else, not close to none other than Korea using Expo the first weekend only.
Yeah.
And after that, none of the region has been using any Expos, any of the structure. Maybe we'll come back with the meta, but so far there are lots of units that can charge directly to the Expo. So that's why Expo has been falling out of the meta in terms of competitive so far.
Probably except the Goblin Huts and kind of maybe the Furnace Hut, just a couple of times here and there, but mostly it's been about less structures, and structures have been deprioritized in the meta. And this mostly is about heavy units, how far you can push that forward to do just all the amounts of damage at once. That's been the big question here, and really defensive structures, like you say, G-Clev, has not really been around for a couple of weeks now.
If I have to make a prediction onto the balance update next time, maybe we'll see less of a radius for coming in for Poison. I think Poison is
too strong.
The spell to basically get every single structure out of the way, damaging the tower as well, and hurting the units at the same time. So too strong for 2v2 and 1v1 together, basically winning over time, doing so much damage from the spell only with some minor hits. Over time you get 3 minutes in this case, so even just from Poison you'll get thousands of damage over time.
You know, I think in addition to Poison, G-Clev, I think Tornado might just get another nerf.
Another one right after?
I mean, like, look at this. The bans are coming through for 1v1, bans are coming for 2v2s, and players are so afraid to even use it on their own parts because they know that once they allow it to happen, the other players using it could be just a nightmare for their offensive strats really just going onto pieces. You know what, that you can't do, especially when you have the opponents just having their hands onto that Tornado spell.
Yes. In terms of damage, of course the duration went down by 0.5, but in terms of damage it's about the same. Maybe we can have slightly less damage. That is certainly possible if they nerf Tornado once again.
Kills off all the little bit of the rascals, as you call it. Not the real rascal of
the gumballs, yes.
The gumballs, it might kill it off, and the spear goblins it kills off, and skeletons it kills off quite well. So, I mean, Tornado, it does multiple duties of, first of all, I think pulling all the units in is such a big part of the Tornado where it's valued so highly, and you're keeping it at bay. You're keeping all those units at bay for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, the small ones like the Goblin or Minions, or the smaller ones will basically be grabbed and taken out easily. And the main one is actually that you can have all the Hog Rider and even the Goblin Barrel to actually activate the King Tower. That has been the most effective way of using the Tornado.
Miner as well.
And that's why maybe he just wants that banned out.
And all that for 3 elixirs. If it was 4, for example, I see where that balance could really work out. It does so many things that are so effective to your defense, and maybe 4 elixirs. I'm calling it right now. Supercell, you know, if you're listening to me right now, 4 elixirs on the Tornado. If you make that change, I think that's what's gonna allow the players to play it a little more freely rather than just ban it at every game.
Don't listen to Joel. I use Tornado.
You know, so do other these players. All these players.
Oh yes, that's why it's getting banned all the time in 2v2. Maybe we'll have some different spells for 2v2 only.
Even more so in 1v1s as well. Tornado has been just strictly banned out, and for me, I just want to see it more played in the competitive stage. That's something I would want for myself.
We do have the 1v1 starting but maybe we'll see a different meta coming down as the Rascals are coming in a week, I believe.
Should be very, very exciting to what that could mean because, you know, new cards, it usually does take a couple of weeks.
Yes, even the guards, when they first came out, no one was using the guard.
It's definitely a top priority now, as you can see it on both sides here. Something like obviously the Barbarian Barrel, still not heavily utilized.
Oh yes, the card does exist. And Infernal Dragon locks onto the Mega Knight, but the Miner has been doing some damage as well. and will just be ignored basically.
Yeah, it's gonna go all in onto both sides. You have to defend one side or the other, and has opted to go for the right side here. Let's see
Even with that Infernal Dragon, it will at least
Oh,
do 2
the zap.
or more.
The zap is gonna be here. Can he get that third drop? It's not gonna come into play, and Lava Hound is gonna just get the rest of the tower here. Be very easy work to get that done. Left tower is gonna go down in an instant after so much have been invested into going attacking on both sides for the side of Kensmeshi.
Basically what Jai did from to both towers combined into one attack.
Yeah.
Kenzamishi had that tower down, but it all comes to the crown counts, how many you can actually do throws in a balloon. But my minions are doing exactly the job to actually take it out, so that will be just enough.
Kensmeshi. Very nicely done there.
And also dropping the guards to make sure the opponent minion does not do the damage to your own minions.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Too many minions.
Kensmeshi very successful on that rush coming in from the balloon from Jai. Was defended quite well. See the miner now having some free time onto this tower here. Lava Loon once again on the right side for Kensmeshi. If this one connects, I don't see Jai coming back. We see none of the towers right now going down for Kensmeshi.
What's better of a defense in this case?
See the defense coming through, and this bomb is going to be just left free as the balloon is having a free time. Second drop does come forward.
Nice.
Maybe the 2 drops that will be in the end, getting it down to 340.
It's only so easy with the fireball. Kenzamishi, maybe he has to use it on a defensive this case. Go
Even
for
the
that
balloon.
overtime.
The balloon is going to be attracted to the tombstone, just wasting so much time that it's not going to allow to get that first drop, which is so crucial. And the Lava Hound going to finish the job on that right tower.
Only seven more seconds. Giant wants to turn it around with a balloon of his own.
Oh, the tombstone in the end. That's
2
going to be,
seconds.
yeah. That's going to waste just enough time. We thought that balloon just might get there, but that tombstone, the cheeky one at the very end, luring it away and for the Infernal Dragon to get that job done.
Once it comes down to 340, I mean, he had the fireball, he had the zap.
Everything.
And Lava Hound right next to the tower. Can you really defend it, not getting a single hit? Pretty tough when you also have to bring that other tower down at the same time.
Really looking like Jai was just coming behind. He was on the behind, trying to just catch back to the damage that has been done by Kensmeshi. Although in the end, did almost get there, but like I said, that one drop was needed by the balloon and didn't get there. It just dropped at the tombstone instead, wasting a lot of time. And Jai now behind on the side of 5 Gaming. We thought Brent's Esports might have been that team from Southeast Asia could put up a true contention onto the Japanese team of 5 Gaming here.
So far, only 1 game in though. Kenzamishi did get that great win with the Lava Hound. Not really dealing with the miner at all, and because you can have a greater one of a push right after, just knowing what to disregard to make your stronger even stronger, make your push even stronger. That was the way the Kenzamishi wanted to have in game 1.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to continue in this case, and not just that, even with the minion, which is not the best one, I would say, to go against the balloon, but only left with has to be dealt with the delay of the path of the air unit, and as well as maximum damage onto the balloon, which you secured it with the guard all the time.
We're not going to waste any time getting into game 2 here after Kensmeshi picks up that first one against Jai. Brent Esports having a hard time just finding it out here. Of course, we only have 1 game so far in this series and could really be turned around in an instant, but still looking at Jai now trying to just finish the job here.
See what else is possible from Jai. Kenzamishi having the same one so far. The Battle Ram to speed it up. Kenzamishi have a slow attack. Jai will have a greater one.
Oh, even that minion after the zap doing so well to destroy every one of that minion coming through. And the Lava Hound is still healthy as a dog. Just going forward here, and that balloon trying to just get the job done, put damage onto it. Does Jai have the defense for this though?
Already fireball has been dropped,
That was late.
Way too late of a defensive tool here as he's losing his cycle. At least stops the second one.
10:59 onto 10:14. Luckily, you know, most of the firelings of the Lava Hound is going to be attracted by the Ice Golem there. Still 924 though on the damage from Jai.
And did get to dash. That's a lot less damage compared to how Kenzamishi was able to pull out.
Kensumeshi is going to be feeling good about that defense right there. Still looking at it though. 12:06, trying to get that second charge, but it's going to be wasted on that tombstone right there. But look at the minions though, doing a lot of damage, and it's not going to be stopped and gets that tower. Jai is going to be ignoring the tombstone altogether. He's going to be relying on his minions to get the job done. Does get the right tower.
Kensumeshi was
He was feeling too safe about his chances.
just letting go of that tower, even though it was pretty healthy in a way. Of course, like 1/4, 1/5 of the HP that he had, that the tower had, but still wants to make your own push right after.
Okay, we're gonna get the double charge on.
Even the bandit.
Yeah,
Goes
the
straightly
bandit,
to the
battle ram, and even the Dark Prince, everything connected
I
there.
think guards came just in time to defend some of the dash.
Yeah.
But still, the balloon actually onto the
Oh.
other side. This is a great way of defense going in.
But that is a
Kensumeshi thinking
naked
of the
balloon
same.
though. That is a naked balloon that will not get many drops before it is knocked away. That one drop is gonna be all it takes here. Lava Hound on the left side again, trying to just get that one tower even now. Oh, but it's going to be countered right back. I think the rotations are now kind of being screwed over by Kensumeshi. He doesn't have the support to back it up here as we see the very easy clearance of the Lava Hound here.
10 seconds. He has to make this work. Maybe throw in another spell with it. Even the zap. The top pups lock onto the ice golem. The zap is not enough to do the damage. Does not have the fireball in his hand again. And that will be game going to Jai.
Very nicely done with that minions that were not compensated for. So I think he was feeling, Kensumeshi was feeling a little bit too safe about his situation. He saw that last time around, the battle ram and the minion was taken care of quite well. When obviously the tombstone was going to be attracting the battle ram, but he really didn't have anything for the minions who were just having a free time onto that tower.
Yeah, do I really use any of my spells to take out the 3 minions? Only 3 elixirs. It's not the heaviest one, and of course having a fireball, you want to use it with the better worth.
Yeah.
You want to have it landing on multiple units, as many as possible. I didn't really want to waste any of that, and he was losing the HP of both towers at the same time.
Yeah. And he feels a minion horde. I think he would have been fine using that fireball, getting +1 elixir trade on that occasion, but it's going to be a -1 elixir trade when you're using against just 3 minions. And knows that 3 versus 4 is not what he wants to take there, so he just went through with the zap. I think he did a good job, Kensumeshi, the first time around when that battle ram and obviously the minion came forward, where he just literally used the zap to stop the battle ram and put some damage onto the minion, and then summon his own 3 minions to make sure they clear up all the messes that were created. But the second time around, he went with a tombstone to fully just lure in the battle ram onto that target instead of going to the tower. But he had no answer for the minions coming forward.
It was very tough. Even with a zap, does not really clear the minion. The Princess Tower, I believe, locked onto the Barbarian as well.
Yeah.
So that's why the minions were doing so much damage. It only started doing damage after the Battleman already hit onto the tombstone. So minion got the chance to do maximum damage.
But you gotta give it to him though. The credit's over to Jai, taking advantage of the win conditions that he got, and kept that into play to make sure his opponent does not come back. And Kensumeshi didn't have what it took to really come back into that one, to feel like he was gonna get that 2-0 victory. Really wasn't the case, as Jai still pulled off strong in the end. We're still looking at this now with, we're looking at the same bands with Giant and the Tornado. We still saw a very generic deck, a rush deck from Giant most of the game here, and very much a Lava Loon for the side of Fav, and for the side of Kensumeshi. But gonna get about 3 more seconds before we're ready to go in this match 3.
Jai has been using lots of poison spells, even in 1v1, but not the same case today, as he's bringing lots of charge decks. Coming straight with some chip damage, not as heavy as Kensumeshi is for sure. He did also have his air units as well. Lots of minion use from both sides. It may just continue thinking that your opponent may just have a balloon to go directly to the tower.
It's gonna be interesting to see whether Lava Loon will stick around for Kensumeshi, or whether we're gonna see him with a different deck to hopefully win out this game 3, the decider match between this set for 1v1.
Cute. 90 damage.
Damn.
Nicely done.
Do I sense an Expo deck? Since a lot of cycle here, Ice
Yes,
Spirit.
I do.
And Archer coming in with the skeleton. That
See,
looks like an
that's-
Expo deck to me.
Yeah, that's why we have the giant ban. It's oftentimes
Yeah,
the case, and we're
that
seeing
looks
more
like a
and
gi-
more.
That looks like an
100%.
Expo deck if I've seen
But
one.
not the best one against the Royal Ghost, and highly likely, along with this another one to charge in. So Kenzumeshi, he has to find some elixir trade, a better of a trade for himself before he lands on that Expo. Tesla already being dropped.
We see a lot being invested on the right side, prompts him to use just right away the Expo on the left, but the Hog Rider takes care of that. It's as if he knew that was going to be coming forward. Even the Ice Spirit doing a very good job of luring that in just so it does no damage to the right tower.
So Kenzumeshi can defend very well with the cards that he has.
Basically, every other card other than the Expo is a defensive tool. That's how you can understand an Expo deck. You're just cycling through very, very lightweight cards to make sure you have all the defense too, while the other Expo, or probably on the other side, does most of the damage.
Well, the thing is, you can rarely do the damage with the Expo unless you know that you're in such of a lead.
Yeah.
But against the deck that what Jai has right now, lots of charging ones, Royal Ghost and the Hog Rider.
Yeah.
Talk about a tough matchup.
Yeah, probably a very lightweight deck for Jai as well, so that makes it a little bit tougher. We see fully invested here, 10 elixirs used on the Expo and the Tesla there. It's going to lure the Hog Rider in. It's going to get one hit from the Hog Rider towards the Expo, but still going to do a few damage here. See how that goes here. The minions finishing it off. Limit the damage down to 1897.
Lock it down to some damage. This is for the defensive use.
The cycling here. Oh, it's not going to even... Did he misplace that, Kensumeshi?
Possibly a pixel down.
Yeah. So that's usually where I usually place my Expos accidentally, because I know I have slippery fingers.
And this one, okay, just locking down the skeleton just in time. But the Inferno Dragon doesn't do damage to the tower. We'll get some, but not as much.
Royal Ghost trying to be that main defensive tool for Jai, but really it's not going to get much attack onto the tower there. And once again, full 10 elixir investment there once again from Kensumeshi with that Expo and the Tesla. Okay, now we're going to see an all-in effort from the side of Jai with the Hog Rider and the Inferno Dragon, thinking like he's going to outdo the damage from the Expo, but still has a lot of distractions. You see it right there, even from the Knight and the Archer doing so much, and I feel like he might just get this one here.
Seems like Kenzumeshi has the role here. Jai
Double Tesla.
and Double Tesla is so strong in the defensive tool. Hog Rider gets deleted and locks onto the tower. Says good game. That's going to be basically game over. The Fireball, the last card, of course, with the Expo deck. And Kenzumeshi will secure a set win for them.
There we go. Feeling very good about how he used the Expo deck. Very predictable when we saw the first two cycling. Putting out the Ice Spirit and the Skeleton just after you so that you have your Expo ready to go. But really, we kind of saw Jai being a little bit impatient there. I think the second time around when the Expo was summoned on the left, and I think he could have just summoned that Hog Rider once again, even if it was a 10 elixir use. If you just try to invest fully on the right side and go for all-in attack against an Expo, nothing really out-damages an Expo over time.
Yeah, certainly right. And except for the Inferno Dragon. And Inferno Dragon, in this case, not really locking onto the Expo because of that Tesla tower most of the time. Hog Rider also has been countered very likely with that Tesla. And the moment you see both Tesla locked right next to the Expo, you know you're done. You know you're done. And Jai said good game at that moment. Just knowing that he was losing his cycle and not really having the best cards to deal against it. And that was not what I expected from Jai after seeing Hog Rider and Royal Ghost. I was expecting the Hunter one, the old one that we saw before, in I believe match 1 or the second or the first set of match number 2, which was the most trending deck with the Hog Rider with the Royal Ghost. But not in this case. Against the Expo was a very tough one because we do have a lot more charging in units compared to the one that Jai had for the last game. I was expecting that to be actually the counter against the Expo, but not in this case with the Inferno Dragon really not doing too much.
I really feel like, as an aficionado of using Expo decks myself, I always read the guides telling me, for against these decks, at least, try to do different things to get the win, but it does tell in that guide that against some type of decks, it just tells you to just go for a tie.
Yeah, that's also a thing. You can actually, if you tie up, it's like soccer. If you have the best goalie in the world, if the opponent can never score, you will always tie, at least not lose.
And I feel like Jai could have very well done that with such a good, I think, a counter deck to an Expo deck. When you have so many charging units, there's nothing really the Expo can do, only do at the maximum about 100 to 200 damage per round. But with those 6 elixirs, we know that's not going to be hard to come around, even if you have an unlimited amount of time with the overtime. But I just felt like, from my opinion of things, that Jai was a little impatient on that game too, when I think he could have the full defensive strat against the side of the Expo.
Also, sometimes it's not really. Sometimes you actually want to drop your units before, when you know you're against this exact Expo deck. This is the most the classic Expo deck you would see on the ladder. But if you wait for that 10, Expo and the Tesla will be dropping right next to it, and it's such a powerful tool and a defensive tool at the same time. You do sometimes want to throw some cards right before, predicting where it's going to be right after, and then make sure you have units to just jump on it right after. That's usually the way to go. But in this case, Jai was waiting a little bit too long, giving chances to Ken Sumeshi in this case, I think.
That cycle deck's absolutely brilliant coming in from Ken Sumeshi. You know that 1 elixir used for the Ice Spirit and the Skeleton, and 2 elixirs for, all these other units, and 3 elixirs at the most for Knights and Archers. You know how that's going to go when you're talking about just cycling that around for defensive units. Every offensive strat that, your opponent trying to throw at you, you got your defensive answers right, but that 6 elixirs will come around so often because the cycle will be so fast to work with.
That is the thing. That is the power of Expo deck, and still uses sometimes, but has been less of a tool against lots of trending decks in the ladder, lots of charges. The double print still out there.
Oh,
just go straight to the Expo, and your Expo will be wrecked down the woods.
Dunzo. It'll be carved into the wooden pieces that it originally became.
The spears and all the maces will do so much damage to the Tesla and the Expo.
Definitely had that before, but we're gonna see this 2v2 after FOF Gaming. He thought, that maybe Southeast Asian can make a comeback, but so far it's still now going over to the side of Japan with FOF Gaming picking up that 1v1 win. We're gonna now go over to 2v2.
The second player from FOF Gaming is Yakitori, holding in lots of wins for 2v2, and not really the one for 1v1 as he had the chance, but lost at 0-2. As you can see on the screen, 0 wins, 2 losses on 1v1. Has been a great teammate for FOF Gaming, of course, not just with Ran, even with another person, I believe, on the first day of match in Clash Royale League Asia.
Here's our new player for Brand Esports, Chief Clan. 5,621. Gonna be his trophy count as he makes his entrance into this wonderful scene of esports here at Clash Royale. Clash Royale League Asia. Chief Clan, this is gonna be his debut. Hoping that he can make a mark to what he can bring here for these games here. But he's going to be looking towards the Goblin Barrel as his favorite cards to work with.
With Manny Knoxville, who has been playing only in 2v2s. Only in 2v2s basically means that, of course, lots of golems, lots of princes. It has been the way of playing Brand Esports. They've been dominant, very dominant, especially in 2v2. I think they have the highest win rate in 2v2s. If you only talk about 2v2 win rate. But with a different member in this case, Chief Clan coming into the team, it will be a different case scenario this time.
We also talked about that really high win rate in that 2v2 did come from just against the other Southeast Asian teams. And when we're in this situation where we don't really rate Southeast Asian teams as a whole to be very strong when compared to the likes of Japan, for example, what does that mean, really? That really high win rate, does that really reflect their case and their possibility of pulling that same type of performance against the Japanese teams here?
They'll be put into that question right now against FOF Gaming, their first 2v2 against the Japanese team. And also, it may not be the same. Chief Clan having 2 years of Clash Royale experience, of course.
Right?
But you can't eat seafood.
You can't eat seafood.
If you can't eat seafood in Taiwan,
oh my, you're
man,
missing out.
Big time.
There you go.
Yes.
So you know what to eat next time you go to Taiwan. Gonna get some nice seafood.
Certainly, and especially when he goes to Japan, he will be
Oh
missing out
my.
lots of good seafood.
Every time I go to Japan, you know, it's just a wonderful experience to make sure I hold on to that seafood. Brilliant food over there in Tokyo and elsewhere in Japan. Back to the action side of things. We are looking at Brain Esports, who did not pull off a win in that 1v1. Now we're on to this 2v2, where they're highly praised for their emergence of skills that was a little bit over the other teams in Southeast Asia so far, but can they do that with a new player with Chief Clan on the lineup?
We'll see. It's his first one, and it's a 2v2 Galali. They were also saying, I believe last week's interview from Japanese team, they were saying 1v1 is a lot more nervous, but 2v2, it's playing with someone else.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more comfortable and it's easier to play with the communication.
Someone to rely on.
Yep, and also as a first game, with your teammate right next to you, I think it's certainly a better time you can actually have compared to the 1v1.
Really good, and really is needed by Brain Esports at this point here. After losing out to 1v1, they really need this 2v2 to gain back the momentum that they needed. Because they really want to stay undefeated. They could do that by winning out against FAV Esports, but in order to do that, they have to win so many more games from here. Getting the 2v2 right, getting the win on that, and also having to go to the ace match and having to win that as well. That's the only way you're going to stay undefeated now and not go away from that first place position that has been granted right now.
Yep, they do have that top spot. Just for now. Just for now. It may all change after tonight. And they need to have a massive comeback with this 2v2 or they will never get their chance to the ace match as Kenzumeshi from Cloud Gaming took that set number 1. Chief Clan, he does like to have that Goblin Barrel, but not going to be the case for 2v2.
I will not see the Goblin Barrel. For the life of me, I will not see the Goblin Barrel in 2v2. Something that is not going to happen.
Maybe in a year.
Hey, I don't know.
Maybe by the end of the year. Hey, you know.
You've got basically 20 elixirs, and out of the 20 elixirs, you can any other spell to knock off a Goblin Barrel.
Which do you think we have a better chance?
What?
Goblin Barrel or Barbarian Barrel?
In 2v2, you say?
Yes.
Goblin Barrel all the way. Barbarian Barrel sucks right now. I will not play that card in a heartbeat, and I don't know. Something has to be done by that card because every time I see it summoned by their opponent, obviously I don't use it, but the few times I see my opponents playing the Barbarian Barrel, I just scoff at him. There are millions of ways of countering the Barbarian Barrel, and it does nothing.
There has been lots of critics and ratings by lots of content creators, YouTubers, and the best one I've heard was a trash can on wheels.
You know what it is though? It's basically a weaker log
with a barbarian in it.
with a barbarian that's eventually gonna die. It's never gonna do any damage. But my point is, if you can have the Barbarian Barrel extend all the way to the end of the turret, then maybe I see it as a point. But it's,
you mean closer to the tower?
yeah,
right?
but it's just too short.
Did get the buff, but maybe another buff is required.
The range is too short. The Barbarian literally does nothing. It's so slow. And perhaps, you know, we're still, you know, I know we have to talk about this game here, but just finishing off the point on Barbarian Barrel, maybe it was the elite Barbarian in that barrel. Maybe I would use it.
With maybe higher of an elixir in that way also.
Sure, 4 elixirs for 1 elite Barbarian. I would definitely use that anytime.
Maybe that's a good chance, but we do have the Golem deck secured from both sides.
Okay, Golem decks on both teams here. See what they want to do here. Rage coming
they
down.
do have the Infernal Dragon locked in. Both sides. Gold Mites come out.
See a defensive Rage there for the side of FAV Gaming, trying to make sure the Infernal Dragons and the Prince gets the job done a little bit faster.
But still about the same, actually a better of a trade for Brand Esports.
There are a lot of kind of really low health units left for Brand Esports, but could not finish the job as the guards took away all the time in the world to get that done.
Comes down to lots of elixir trade within these pushes that you think it may work. Golem,
What? That
in
poison?
this case, going to the left side.
I don't know if that poison was good enough. Brand Esports just used that to get away to get the tombstone away, but was that really worth it? The 4 elixirs versus 3.
I think it was a little bit too early, maybe by 2-3 seconds. basically almost no damage to the golem either. That's the poison that I wanted to see. Even with the rage.
Offensive rage. Offensive rage, but a freeze defensively coming from Bernies, but that was a surprise, but still not going to stop the golem from doing all the damage in the world.
I think freeze could have been held with another one. Maybe they wanted to have their own cycling done.
Oh, we're going to see that tombstone stopping that one charge. That was crucial there. If we saw the Prince that get that charge right away, obviously would have seen very different fate for the side of Rand and Yakitori for FOV Gaming. Let's see the charge on the right side again. So they're going back and forth here. Whoa!
Oh, but
that was a
golems are
surprise.
right on the bridge.
Okay, so they caught me off guard there, FOV Gaming. They won't go on the road.
Let's see the trade
right
here
side.
as the big push is coming down from Brandy's
Oh,
Hort.
the left.
Even the balloon is coming down with everything here. The rage has to be dropped. Even the freeze, balloon going straight at it, but the tombstone delaying a little bit.
Yeah, the tombstone being delayed just a little bit. We're still seeing the golem on the top side. Look at that for FOV Gaming as the
Charge
golem is
actually
still
gets the
pushing
Prince,
in.
double Prince pushing in all the way to the crown tower.
Okay, the guard though doing a good job of stopping the Prince for him here. 5
Laying
seconds.
with the Ice Wizard on the top, so but still the golem does great amount of damage, down to half.
23-23 versus 29-24. Are we going to see the crown rush here? Right, we're going to see the defensive efforts from FOV Gaming now to make sure their crown tower does not go away in a hurry.
FOV Gaming, they are completely going all the way in there. Here comes the balloon. The freeze. A little bit early, I would say, but lost into everything.
Balloon! Gonna be dropping one drop.
They still have the golem too, so any
Second
more would be just game. This is
will
going
be
to be game over, and they do secure 3 crowns.
They stayed so composed after losing that, basically losing the first round. They just gave it up because they went all in on that right side. Where I think it made sense, kind of why they went for the right side with the golem for FOV Gaming, because they were trying to just defend against it, but they were not investing just as fully on the left side as they could have been.
It was also, I think it was a great adaptation from FOV Gaming, because they couldn't really defend as well onto the right side if they went for the same side all the time. Making that change within the game, I think, was a great adaptation. Pushing it all the way, it did about the same, a little bit more of a damage to the King Tower even.
But I just kind of, it's a result-based talk that we're having here. But obviously, we saw what happened. Now we're going back to the past and talking about it. What if 8 elixirs wasn't used on the right side to defend out? If you just gave up the right tower for FOV Gaming, just as Brand Esports did for the left side, and just fully invested on the left, I just may think that they could have gone that King's Tower just a little bit faster than Brand Esports could have.
There are lots of charging units from Brand Esports, so it was really hard to make that decision. Also, they were using a defensive rage in that way. Got a good trade off of that, of course. But after that, how you switch off, how you defend it against the freeze has been... You're going to have different responses, of course, different feedback from freeze. How do we actually deal with the freeze? Do we have enough units or the spells to delay the time against the balloon, which was the toughest thing, and it worked out perfectly for Brand Esports.
Now, how do FOV Gaming respond from this? How do they really find the answer to things they couldn't really find the right things to? And see the Dark Goblin being summoned out here. Gonna be destroyed in an instant from the Dark Prince.
Dark Goblin is a great card against lots of minions. It will actually deal a good amount of damage, but I think the better one, 2v2, to be honest, is... Oh, there is that Goblin Barrel!
Okay,
what did you see, Joe?
We saw it. There you go. That's all I needed right there. And
but still not barbarian barrel.
But look at so many damage being done though. 11, 16. See the...
But the counter push is coming. And only the... Okay, does have the tune.
Oh, look at the Dark Goblin doing so much damage. I was going to mention just
Freeze
earlier.
once again.
Yeah, it's going to be really important here as we see the balloon trying to get some drops here.
2.
Going to get the 2 drops, which is crucial, and still going to be knocking away. Another we're going to be not Barbarian Barrel. Goblin Barrel coming through. See how that does. If with that Infernal Dragon, it's not being accounted for.
Has to zap away.
Barely gets that done. Still looking at the Dark Goblin. There's so much work of cleaning it up, and really, with his flimsy body, can do so much damage over time.
The range is actually so long.
Okay.
And I believe 6. And the attack speed is what makes him so strong.
Yeah.
If he has anything else botting the Dark Goblin, will do tons of damage, just like the Goblin Barrel that we're seeing right now.
I think he's still having a hard time predicting the direction of that Goblin Barrel from the side of Brand Esports. Having a hard time. Still, both of the towers being chipped away quite heavily there. I think that Dark Goblin is just being expertly used. It really has found no answer on the side of Brand Esports.
So Dark Goblin does a ton of damage, so they are going to make their strong push in, but the barrel does more than the job.
And really you saw the Ice Spear coming there as well to make sure that gets the job done. Really a good use of the rocket there, and just nothing coming out of that all-in effort. One more Goblin Barrel. Oh, we're going to see that coming into play here. I'm going to see the first tower going down, probably from Mainland Esports, unless the Pekka can get to it.
The push is still coming in, and guard just in time to
guard.
delay. Will actually go down, but
Ice Wizard.
very low on 403. 403 only left onto that tower. Princess
now-
Tower onto the right.
So behind right now. Just Brand Esports has to stall the time. They're not going to go for the win here, but we know
it
the
out.
Rocket's going to get the job done. 2 seconds to count the glory for the side of FOV Gaming, and that will be them picking it right back up to even as we get back to 1-1 for both teams.
FOV Gaming on the match point now as a single win from 2v2. Close the match out here as Brand Esports will also face their first ever loss after facing against the Japanese team now.
And the Dark Goblin, I never really got to finish my point about why the Dark Goblin was probably prepared for the side of FOV Gaming was, I think it was mostly for the balloon. And you want to talk about why that Dark Goblin came through after suffering the loss in Game 1. I think Brand Esports, once they find success in a certain deck, they like to play that again, and they don't really mind going all in on one side to get the job done. They got the answer to both. I think they got the answer to the balloon with the Dark Goblin. If it has some free range and the free time to poke that damage each time, it's eventually going to pop the balloon.
They have lots of time. They buy lots of time with the Tombstone, the
Yeah.
Skeletons, and the Guards. They
And-
buy just enough time.
In addition to that all-in effort we saw from them in Game 1 with Brand Esports, Rocket. And we saw the exploit though. I think we saw just about 15 elixirs worth of units being destroyed almost
That
to
was
nothing.
a
Literally by one rocket.
beautiful rocket there. And taking on, I believe, Inferno Dragon as well
Inferno
as some
Dragon,
Prince, and
Prince.
it hit both Pekka and the Golem
Yeah, it hit.
together.
Everything was clustered up in this one radius, and it was the perfect one.
And Rocket only covers 2 radius. It's really hard to actually time it correctly because it's slow, not as big of a radius. So, well done by FOV Gaming there.
Yeah, absolute perfection of preparing for the strategy that your opponent really strategized through to get you the win in Game 1. And they came back and right in Game 2, had all the right counters for every situation.
That's right. Certainly has to come back here, as that's the exact reason why they called for a timeout. FOV Gaming on the match point. 2v2 has to come back in order to carry out into an ace match. Only 11 seconds remaining for them to talk out what's possible for the last moment.
But you know what? We're in here. Chief Glenn, the new addition for Brand Esports, might not be enough to carry this team even into an ace match, and they might just see them get blown out 2-0 on today's games. And that will be something that we didn't expect from Brand Esports. We thought they would be the strongest contention to possibly have the best chances to win against the Japanese teams.
Yeah, that is certainly right. We're having the on both sides. Either Brand Esports, can they continue, or is it going to be the Japanese region to continue their winning streak? Only dropping 1 against Korea last weekend. It will be the start of them this weekend, and the players are ready for possibly a match point and possibly the last game of tonight.
If Japan wins this one, if FOV Gaming wins this last game and makes it a match point, we're going to get a 10-win and 1-loss record against foreign teams, 4 Japanese teams in total. That is absolutely insane, J. Cliff. You just
Pretty
imagine it
shocked.
in your head, yeah.
Pretty shocked. I was also doing math in my head. Yes, you're right.
I knew you were thinking. Nobody can
Always double check on math, okay?
Yeah, but it's really, really good stuff. You see one region being so dominant.
Oh, look at that rocket once again. Boom.
Wonderful, wonderful use of that rocket right there. There's nothing you can do. And even that broken golem, the mini golem's gonna do so much damage. The prince is still alive. Okay, gonna be stopped by the guards for the time being, so very good defensive last-minute effort there by Brandon Esports. But once again, the rocket coming to so much fruition for this team here.
Let's take a look at the counter push. Does not predict the perfect location for the miner.
Still, very, very good though. Really stopping the Electro Wizard and the miner to limit the damage coming out from the output here.
Similar in terms.
You see the Golem being prepared by both these teams here. We're going to see the Prince for the side of Valve Gaming just pushing his Golem a little bit faster here.
You want to line them up perfectly because your Golem should be soaking up most of the damage.
Rage coming in.
From Valve Gaming once again. The same exact deck, I believe, from the last game.
It's getting blown up after one hit from that Golem, but we're going to see more hits from the mini Golems here. Going to get down to 1227 after the explosion damage.
That's the difference in front of Dragon to a Rage with the Print. Granny Sport, it is their time to push in. Miner doing a little bit of damage only. Bats basically take them out.
Making sure the Prince does not do any damage from the side of Brandon Esports. That makes Valve Gaming go on the counter attack as well.
Golems are continuing to come, and the Rage has been the most annoying one.
Can they defend out against it? We see the Ice Wizard for Brandon Esports just slowing things down, but no real destroying of the units here as we see the minigone still fighting it out to do more damage each time. See the Electro Wizard just taking care of the Infernal Dragon. That's
Right
fine
in
for now.
front, as they have nothing else to back it up. Mega Minion, of course, landing right after.
That's a really greedy Golem there, G-Clev, and I wonder if we're going to get any answers from that. The Miner coming through, just trying to sneak in there to do the chip damage.
Oh, the Rage is perfectly on everything, even the Prince defending on the Miner.
Really good stuff there, and we're going to see the Golem just rushing it in. The Prince, he might just be able to get the charge, but...
Look at the wave of units in front of Dragon, not really landing on too many. The Law gets everything down to ground.
909 from the side of Brand Esports on their tower on the left. Ice Wizard still pushing in, trying to get as much damage. Poison just desperately trying to get at least even with what they have here.
You see everything being dropped. Front Dragon does lock into the Golem.
Now we're going to
And
see
stop the
another
Rage.
rocket here, because I think the all-in effort is now being attempted here again by Brand Esports. See what they do here.
Valve Gaming, as long as they bring it down to lower than 500, bring it down to near to 430, they are good to go with the Rage. So they are chipping it down with the Poison now.
You can see the two Wizard, Ice Wizard, and the Electro Wizard trying to do damage to the defensive units coming in.
Prince not really damaging the tower, but guards delay the attack as much.
Okay, we're going to see another big Prince being summoned, but having a hard time attacking with it. But 462 here. We're going to see the Miner do more chip damage down to 398. The Rocket coming through. How much damage is going to do? 155 on the clock now.
Gren does not have a rocket, but does have the Poison over.
The Poison will end it.
Valve Gaming, unless something happens, they
Yeah.
will win with the Poison.
Valve Gaming with the Rocket and the Poison to get 500 plus damage onto the tower in the end. And that will be them pointing us at the finger. They are the winners for today's matches.
Says, you guys are the real winners. Says, thanks for watching us.
Great
That's their
energy.
ceremony here. As Japan continues their streak, even not just in their own land, but in Taiwan.
Continue on their dominance, that it wasn't the home field buff. That really wasn't the thing that translated into results. We see that anywhere they could go to Antarctica, for example, and they still do good at Clash Royale.
But you do
anyway.
need that Wi-Fi or
Oh,
a
come
good
on.
cellular connection.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do have LTE across the world now. Maybe we can
Even in
transfer that
Antarctica?
data.
Antarctica?
I mean, I never asked, but
Do
you
they
know,
even have 3G?
you never know. Anything can happen. We know they have space stations down there, whatever it is, just getting their everything tasks to getting it sorted out. But my point is,
Yes.
Japan is not about the home buff. It's not about them playing in Japan last week against the Korean team. That's not what got them to win. It's their pure skills, and we saw it here again against the Southeast Asian teams. None of the teams were able to get a win here.
Yep. As the final game, we saw like the moment when we saw the poison spell being dropped, and we're saying, "Huh, that's quite early. What are they thinking
Yeah.
right now?" And I think they lost it by the last game. They really lost the control. They were supposed to be a little bit more patient, waiting for a lot more units to come out, and then try to maximize your poison. Not just poison, every single one of your card. And they were just dropping it down, just thinking maybe if we get lucky, maybe we can get more pushes in.
Yeah.
But from Fab Gaming, it was the opposite, I would say.
They knew exactly how to punish their opponent to snowball the lead they had. You
Mm.
saw the 4 elixirs being used to destroy a 3 elixir tombstone. Literally, that's all you did. The poison can have so much more potential to destroy so many units at once, but like I said, it really just snowballed from there, and Fab Game knew exactly how to punish their opponents, and it was them just finishing out the series here. That 2v1 here. Very, very nicely done. Even like, look at that. Look at the adaptation coming from just a Dark Goblet. Just beautiful work of knowing what your opponents have and knowing the exact answers as to how to finish the game. Great stuff from Fab Gaming and all together from Japan.
Rocket is securing most of the damage, of course. Down to 151 poison. Of course, you have your HP onto your own tower. You know that you are going to win.
And knowing just how aggressive the Southeast Asian players usually are, now I feel like I know the counter card to any Southeast Asian team.
What
It
is
is the Rocket. It's when everything is invested onto one side. We've seen that not only from Brennies, but we've seen from every single team in Southeast Asia, especially during the first week, and when we saw all these Southeast Asian play against each other. All in or nothing. And 6 elixirs from the Rocket to get everything down. Man, I think
value.
more teams are going to be playing the Rocket against Southeast Asian teams in the future.
Yes, certainly. And we are going to jump into that final interview with Fab Gaming.
So congratulations on your win.
東南アジアの一番強いチームに勝っておめでとうございます。
那你们有觉得 Brain Sport 是在你们赛前就特别防范的一个对手吗？
So, did you consider Brenny Sports as your strong competitor before the game?
そうですね、相手の、ディテクティブ・ヘッカ選手と、ジャイ選手を特に警戒してまして、そこに対して徹底的な、研究を重ねてました。
他们有研究了里面很强的2位选手。
Yes, and we have discovered that they're like really strong players in the team.
对，今天针对的非常的成功哦。第一场比赛是直接击败了 Zai， 是怎么样去抓到他的一个购牌思路的？
So, in your first set, you have lost to Brenny Sports. So after that, what kind of strategy did you have? How did you overcome that?
しっかりと練習した通りに、プレーをする、そこを心がけました。
他们模拟了他们的组牌，然后做了一个策略的思考，然后呢。
So yeah, we have changed a bit of our decks, and we have changed a bit of our strategies to overcome this Brenny Sports. So before the games, how do you prepare for all the matches? For 2v2.
それに対してどういうふうに考えましたか？
やはり強いチームということでしっかり研究は重ねてはいたんですけど、ちょっと押されがちで、まあでもしっかりその研究した成果が出せたので良かったです。
他们是赛前有做了很多的研究，然后在这种各种研究的。
So yeah, we have done a few experiments on 2v2 and did lots of practice. So who do you think is the strongest competitor of your team?
そうですね。日本のこのスポーツさんとゲームイズさんですね。今リーグで1位ということで、そこに勝ちたいなと思っております。
So we would like to say it's Pono Sports from Japan. So congratulations again on your win.
There we go. We heard the words from Fab Gaming, the last winners, and basically it's been a streak of Japan, just once again dominating. And it wasn't always against Korea. It's going to be against Southeast Asia. We might just see this trend continue for the next 2 days, and we might see them right now 10 wins and 1 losses on this day, talking about them against international teams abroad. If this continues, 13 down to 15 wins is something that we might be able to see.
Yep, we are going to have that continuing into tomorrow, of course, as Japanese teams are sweeping through all the Asia. Pretty dominant. Even though I was expecting, but after having this kind of result, which we're going to see on the screen very soon, still very amazed with the result, how dominant they were able to have with all the teams, of course. So we have one more team from Southeast Asia and also Japan tomorrow.
Last week around, we saw the red side just scripted with wins. Everything win was over to the red side because we saw that Japan was the home team in last week's matches against Korea. But now, we might see just blue wins all across the street.
May just continue as Brenny Sports. They were the favorites coming into match number 3, but with their roster change, I think it has hurt them a lot even after just watching one match today.
Okay,
Will
so with
continue
Brenny
very
Sports
likely.
losing, finally they're going to get off that #1 chart. Going to drop down to number 3, only having lost 1. They have only won 1-3, so this streak could get a lot tougher for this team as the season goes on.
Yeah, and look at that. 3 Japanese team in top 4.
Yeah, but I imagine it's going to be top 3 very soon. As soon as Brent Esports start losing more games against Japanese teams, man, that could get really ugly for Southeast Asia altogether.
And of course, we're going to take a look at the second sheet of paper, but always the backside. Not the best one.
Destination Gaming lost so many games.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean...
Who did not play, they will play tomorrow.
Okay. It's a chance for them to feed up some wins here and could get that done. That tomorrow's game obviously going to be brought to you by you and Simon. So G-Clef and Simon's always the best days of Clash Royale.
I think it depends on the teams.
Sure.
I think the matchups are very important how fun we have, but here's the next matchup. AHQ and Detonation did not play. Of course, 4 teams from each region. We only covered 3 matches, so we're gonna go for the pennant race for all the teams.
So Destination Gaming, AHQ, 2 teams in their own respective region with the most losses. So, kind of counting both teams as the worst teams in the region, technically, who's going to be the better team? Who's going to be the worst team out of the 2?
Yeah, that is certainly right. The 4th place from the regions. When they go against each other, who is going to win? And I think that's a very good storyline we can continue on tomorrow, but so far. And our storyline continues with Japan dominance. And they have been winning quite well. And even not just in 1v1, even in 2v2. They have been consistently saying practice is the way to go.
You know, a lot of things will be there, but we're going to be back tomorrow because we're going to be continuing on the action with Japan and Southeast Asia as the dominance. Will that continue? We're going to be back with G-Clef and Simon for tomorrow's matches, and we'll see you then.